Movie Crusaders, and welcome to our special half-year in review. My name's Sean Wasserkrug. With me, as always, is Brian Michaels, and this is our annual. It's July now, so now we've got 6 months into the year, and this is our time of the year where we basically go over our best, worst, most surprising, most disappointing films of 2023 so far. This is the third year. I think it's the third year. Yeah. Some things are going to be a little different this year, and it's in a good way.
A much better year.
It's in a good way that we're doing this instead of like a bad way. Last year, it was more in a bad way because
and also just in quantity of films, I've seen a lot more at this point of the year than I had last year. Just because, the post-COVID things took a while to kind of get going, and now we're kind of more and more into a lot more films coming out.
Yeah, because like with 2021, we were still dealing with a ton of postponements and stuff that we were excited to see but didn't come out. And I think like we had maybe like 20 movies watched at the half year part there, so like it was like a very tight kind of thing. I think if anything, we did like top 5 of everything that year.
2022 was just plain weak first half of the year.
It's just the movies weren't good. Whereas like this year we did kind of chalk this up, at least for the first few months, was this is the year of meh, where it's like everything is fine.
Yeah.
It's not good. It's not great, but it's not bad. It's just kind of, it is what it is kind of thing.
And then March hit. Yeah.
Yeah, but I mean, eventually it did get considerably better, especially compared to last year. So we're in a situation right now where we were kind of not going over our list to the point where we're telling them, because we keep these surprise from one another until we get to it. But we were actually discussing our worst of the year so far. And I was telling Brian, I was like, my list is kind of weird because it's like I'm looking at my top 10 and there's really only 2 movies in my top 10 worst that I consider actually bad movies. And then he's like, what do you mean? I was like, well, my third worst movie of the year is Plane. And he's like, what? I was like, I know. I was like, I didn't hate the movie. The movie's fine. It's a solid 3-star film. But it is the third worst movie of the year I've seen. But it's not a bad film. It's just I've been very good at choosing my movies this year. And so I was like, and
I on the other hand, am far less picky about the movies I watch. And
yeah, so and you were kind of in the same boat. You're like, I think there's maybe like 3, maybe 5 movies that I would consider awful. And so we are kind of changing up this year. Whereas like the last couple of years, we definitely had like 10 bad movies and stuff like that. We don't this time, because even as I was telling Brian, I was like, these other 7 movies, like I don't even want to list them because I feel mean almost saying that they're bad movies, because they're not bad movies at all. They're not as good, but I wouldn't like someone goes, hey, how was this? Like, oh, it was fine.
Maybe we just label it our favorites of the year so far and our least favorites of the year, because then it's not necessarily worse, not bad, it's just least favorites.
Well, if we do it that way, then we have to redo our whole freaking list, because we went through a whole different mindset with this. So because of that, we're doing this a little differently. We're not going to have a top 10 worst or even a top 5. Brian has a top 5. I only really have 2 movies this year that I just downright did not like and were just greatly upset with. Now, granted, one of these movies is in my most disappointing, so I'm not going to give like my full. I mean, I probably give my full breakdown of this while we go into it, because it's the worst, and this is the main category. But granted, I don't want to say hopefully, because that's a horrible thing. By the end of the year, when we do our end of the year rankings, we'll probably have a top 10 worst. Okay. But which means that that means I'm going to have 8 more movies that are going to be really shit, kind of thing. But I only have 2, and I know my 2 are in Brian's 5. So Brian, why don't you go ahead with the 3 others that you thought were classified as the worst movies of the year so far that you've seen?
Okay, so we're starting with worst. Okay. Yeah. My number 5 worst film of the year is White Men Can't Jump. A movie that didn't need to exist, and if they were going to make it, should have at least, had some of the fun and personality of the original, and not cast, a guy who can't act and is obnoxious and annoying, and a guy who's a good actor but couldn't help the film because he was too serious. Yeah. Do you have anything to say about that one?
This was one of those movies that was in my top 10, but I thought it was fine. No, the
Top
top 10
10?
worst. Top 10 worst.
Oh, okay. So say bottom 10.
That I
Yeah.
didn't want to talk. No, calm down. It was in my my
We're
bottom
agreement
top.
there.
No, it was in my bottom top 10, but I didn't think it was bad enough to label it as a worst film of the year because at the end of the day, yes, Jack Harlow, he's a rapper, he's not an actor.
That's
I thought he was okay. I didn't like he's not great, but he has certain points of the film where it's like there's promise there. And I'm blanking on the Wesley Snipes character.
Oh, I had it, but I don't have it in front of
I
me.
like him. I thought he was great. I said before we started, I was like, I'm not gonna pull up IMDb. I'm just gonna try to shoot this without having to go to names and
Cinqua Walls.
Cinqua Walls. I thought he was really good, but yes, he's playing some super series. He's got that character development about his father's past and stuff like that. But like I felt like the second half of the movie saved the first half of the movie. Because like the first half, it's like they're really trying to make it White Man Can't Jump. Like they're trying to hit the same beats. But then I felt like in the middle of the movie, it started to kind of find its own rhythm, its own.
It's the kind of thing where, put these two guys and have them make a basketball movie and it's probably good. But put it and try and call it White Man Can't Jump when what made the first one was that chemistry and the personalities of those two people to two people who have no personalities, and it kills it.
Yeah, because I mean that was the whole thing about it too, was that it wasn't necessarily White Man Can't Jump. It was White Man Can Shoot. Because Jack Harlow, he maybe dunked like twice in the whole movie, but he was a shooter. But I mean,
they call White Man Can't Jump, and then they do away with that in a throwaway line with oh, that's an old thing that's been
Yeah. But I mean, at the end of the day, by the time the movie ended, I was like, it was okay. I didn't hate it. Granted, I had Brian already in my earbuds because you saw it before I did, so I went into it with a like, oh my god, this is gonna be horrible, and then by the end I was like, this really wasn't as bad as Brian made it out to be. So I did not.
And again, this is not going to make my worst of the year list at the end of the year. It's just as of right now, it's towards the bottom. My number four worst film of the year. Oh, this one hurts. Quasi. This is another one that hopefully won't be in the bottom when we make the end of the year lists.
Oh, it totally will.
But spoiler alert, we're going to be talking about this more in disappointments. But it was Broken Lizard, except if you took out all the jokes. Because and when it was trying to be funny, it's like everything just fell flat, and it was just depressing to sit through.
Yeah, Quasi is my number 2 of 2 worst films of the year. You and I both love Broken Lizard. We love watching Broken Lizard. We enjoy the comedy. You don't, but I love watching Tacoma FD, which is the Broken Lizard. Well, most of the Broken Lizard crew. Jay is not in that show, but everyone else is. I love that show, and I love these guys. We both love Club Dread, Super Troopers, Beer Fest, not so much. Quasi was one of those, like, even like when we first heard about it, we heard about the plot, like, oh, they're doing basically the Hunchback of Notre Dame. Okay, cool. That could be really funny. And I remember you and I both saw the trailer for it. Or no, you avoided the trailer, didn't you? Didn't you avoid the trailer?
I didn't watch it right at first. I think I did watch it eventually before it came out.
Yeah, I watched the trailer and I was like, ooh, I didn't laugh once watching this trailer. That worries me. And it was getting released on Hulu, which we've learned enough now that doesn't necessarily mean it's going to be bad. I mean, hell, one of our favorite movies of last year was Prey, and that was a Hulu release. But it was just watching that first initial trailer, I was like, oh crap, this might not be good. And then you watched it, and it just
like, well, maybe it's just like, because they can't do the R-rated trailer or something. Nope.
Yeah, it lacked any substance or essence of what Broken Lizard was.
Yeah, when you have a talented cast like that, the Broken Lizard guys, and then Adrian Palicki and some other people in there, it's just like, oh, what a waste.
It was a huge waste. And I just remember watching it, and I time checked it like 4 times. And I think maybe there was,
and it's only like a 90-minute movie too.
Well, yeah, because like, and there was I think one scene, it was like in the last like 10 minutes of the movie that I finally chuckled, and it wasn't even like a full laugh. It was like a okay, that was kind of funny. And it's like, no, that for a Broken Lizard movie, that is no, you can't do that. Like, it needs to be funny throughout. And I was just so greatly just disappointed in this movie, which is why it's going to be also be talked about later. My disappointing, but by the end of the day, I was just sad.
Yeah.
I was bummed. I was sad, and it makes me worried about any movies they make from now on. Maybe they just need to stick to Tacoma FD and the firefighter show, because that's still funny to me. I'm excited for their new season coming out, but yeah, Quasi was a huge miss. What was your number 3?
Number 3 goes to this one. I believe it's a Netflix movie. It's You People.
Oh, I avoided this one like the fucking
Yeah.
plague.
Well,
When I saw the trailer, I was like, no,
it's
I'm not watching.
Eddie Murphy and Jonah Hill and culture clash kind of thing going on, and if you're not familiar with it, it's kind of a guess who's coming to dinner kind of thing, where Jonah Hill has this girlfriend, and then he meets her parents, which is Eddie Murphy, and I don't remember who the mom was, but
Nia Long?
it might have been. But the problem is, yeah, Nia Long.
Yeah.
The problem is, it's like, it's a one joke movie, and that one joke gets old real fast, because it's like, I think in my Letterboxd review, I described it as, that line in Get Out when he's like, oh, I would have voted for Obama for a third term if I could. And it's like kind of that awkwardness of like trying to fit in with the black people. And it's like, it's that stretched out over a 2-hour movie. And it's just like, okay, this isn't going anywhere. It's just a whole lot of Jonah Hill doing his little awkward thing. And it's like, there just wasn't enough comedy to back it up, and it just was not enjoyable at all.
Yeah.
Oh, and for this love story, it's like the whole thing is like you never see him like kiss the black girl. Like, I don't know if they didn't want to like offend somebody or something. It's just a weird romance with no actual love.
Yeah, I saw the trailer. I don't think it was even the actual trailer. I think it was like the teaser for it, and I was just like, nah, I'm not gonna enjoy this movie. I'm not even gonna give this one a shot unless like people were coming out going, oh, it's amazing. But all I kept hearing was what you said. I was like, all right, good. I saved myself 2 hours of my time for that. But yeah, yikes.
Number 2, Shotgun Wedding. This one is a movie that ended up going to Amazon Prime. A movie that was originally supposed to star Armie Hammer with Jennifer Lopez.
Jennifer Lopez, yeah.
Yeah, instead it was Josh Duhamel for obvious reasons. I like Josh Duhamel. Jennifer Lopez, I actually like some of her comedy. I think she's a good actress, and damn, she looked good in this movie. I'll say that.
She looks fantastic in this movie.
Damn good in this movie. So maybe just watch it on mute. I don't know. But this is a movie that it's going to be like an adventure comedy. Maybe kind of a Romancing the Stone kind of vibe to it, something like that.
That's exactly what I thought of it as well.
Yeah, but again, this is just a movie that the action wasn't good action, and the comedy wasn't good comedy. So it's like, what do you got left with? Nothing.
This was my number 1 worst film of the year. Because I already know what your number 1 is, and it breaks my heart because I was so excited for that movie and I didn't get to see it. Mainly because you told me how bad it was. But yeah, Shotgun Wedding. I remember watching you watched the trailer before I did. You go, this actually looks fun, and I watched the trailer and I'm like, I don't think this looks fun. I think this looks annoying. But I'll watch it because I like Josh Duhamel and I like Jennifer Lopez. But even I was not really excited based off the trailer, and my gut instincts were correct. How do you take someone that is as gorgeous and likable as Jennifer Lopez? Not that gorgeousness has anything to do with likability, but we like J-Lo. We've liked J-Lo since she was just Jennifer Lopez and stuff. Like, she wasn't J-Lo yet. She's annoying as fuck in this movie. Like, you're pretty to look at, but shut the fuck up, because your character is unlikable. And Josh Duhamel's character is kind of just like, just there. And of course, the worst part of this fucking movie, Jennifer fucking Coolidge. I liked her when she was just Stifler's mom, and she had like a 5, maybe 7-minute scenes in movies. Now, for some reason, because of like fucking White Lotus or some shit, everyone's like, we got to put her in everything, and we got to make sure she has so many lines and so many parts in these damn films. Granted, this movie didn't help themselves because this was right after Christmas. We had to watch those horrible fucking Jennifer Coolidge Christmas commercials that were annoying as hell. But this movie, like I said, I went into it going, if it's like Romancing the Stone, this could be a lot of fun. And it kind of was to a point, but the problem is that you never like the characters. You never want to see them. I don't want to say succeed, because if they didn't succeed, they die. But you never really wanted to just root for them because they were not necessarily likable people. And you have the characters like do stupid things. There's so many times where like they're attacking the bad guys or whatever that they should have just straight up died, because like any bad guy just would have went boom, dead.
Yeah.
But like you find some stupid reason why they didn't shoot them or anything like that. And then like there's a twist at the end, but the twist is so like, yeah, we kind of figured that out like 20-30 minutes ago, but it's okay. And then the side characters, or the characters that are like a part of the wedding, they lack any essence of comedy outside of I think like two people, which I think was like Jennifer Lopez's sister and like Dumel's like best man. Like they were fine, but like it, and then it like tried to go like, oh, the comedy's not working, so let's get real violent and gory. And it's like, you can't just throw that in and make the movie better. If anything, it just feels tacked on and cheap. And at the end of the day, that's what Shotgun Wedding felt like, was a pretty like place setting with Jennifer Lopez, especially because the first scene you see her and she's literally like saying, I want to fuck, and here I am in my underwear. And then you're basically putting her in a movie where it's like, I wish I could watch this on mute because everyone is annoying to listen to in this film. And at the end of the day, you're just waiting for this movie to end. I despise this movie. Now, granted, compared to like last year's worst movie of the year, which was The Munsters, this is a classic compared to the Munsters last year.
Honestly. Wow.
Yeah, but it's, as of right now, it is my worst film of the year. It's not Brian's. I still feel like if I watch Brian's movie, I might defend it.
I don't think you will. I know a lot of people who were really excited about this movie, and no one has come out saying they liked it.
Go ahead and go with your number one worst film of the year so far.
My number one, I'm actually not going to talk about much now, because I'm going to talk about it more in the disappointing, and that is Fool's Paradise. This is a movie written and directed and starring Charlie Day, actually in dual roles, Charlie Day, with the great cast behind him. Everything about it, said it should have been a great movie. It's just not a single laugh, and I just feel like everyone in it, I think, was, because apparently he's been working on this movie for like 5 years.
Yeah,
Like
yeah.
just doing scenes when he can, whenever he can when he gets a hold of some friends, gets to put him in some scenes. And it just, it feels like things that a lot of people did as favors for him. And apparently no one wanted to tell him, oh, but wait, it's not funny at all. Yeah, I'll talk about it more in disappointments. Do you have anything you want to say right now?
I mean, since you're going to talk about it later, well, I'll just reserve my talk for then. Okay. Because once again, I haven't seen it, and I was super excited to see it. So I guess I'll just talk about it later when you talk about it for disappointing.
Yeah, but it is so far the worst movie I've seen this year. And I've seen some bad
ones. Normally, worst is a lot longer of a conversation. It usually takes up like the first 45 minutes of the show, but we blitzed through that relatively quickly. So now we're going to go to some more positive stuff. We're going to be talking about our most surprising films of the year. These are movies that we had very little expectations, or were expecting them to suck, and they ended up,
or didn't even know they existed,
and ended up surprising us in a way to the point where they are in our top 10 currently, or they're just went, damn, that was really, really good. Now we're doing top 5 for this, but I actually do have 4 honorable mentions. How many honorable mentions do you have, Brian?
Just 2.
Just 2. Okay, so I'll do 2, and then you can do your 2, and then I'll do my 2. And my honorable mentions, I guess, are not really in any particular order, but I'll just go off of basically the list I have. My first honorable mention, and granted, I'll probably talk about this a little bit more when we get to the best, because this is in my best of the year, is Air. This is a movie, granted, the trailer alone, I knew this movie was going to be great, but the reason why it's surprising is that the whole concept of this film is literally about marketing and market placement, and trying to get a basketball player, Michael Jordan, to sign on to Nike so we can sell shoes. It's not about the career of Michael Jordan. It's not about, I mean, it is about sports to a point, but it's not. It's about Nike shoes. And if you're going to tell me last year, Sean, one of your favorite movies of the year is going to be about the creation of the Nike shoe and it becoming the, you know, the mega, you know, business that it is today, I've been like, no. Why would I care about that? Why we care about that is because the cast is amazing. The writing is great. I love this movie. And like I said, granted, the trailer had me hooked, but at the end of the day, I was like, this is still just a movie about a shoe. I don't know. Like, I want this to work, but will it really? And it did. But because I was already prepared to really like it, that's why it's number 9 on my surprising and not higher. What about you? Did you have anything to say about
I
Air?
wasn't jumping because this is one of my honorable mentions as well for surprising.
Okay.
Because this is, I think I vaguely remember reading something about, oh, they're gonna, Ben Affleck and Matt Damon are gonna make another movie together, and it's gonna be about the making of, basically the making of the Air Jordan shoes. And I was like, okay, that's a weird thing to make a movie about,
It's a random ass fucking film.
And that's it. There's a trend this year. You're gonna see later in some lists that seems to be a thing about, let's make a movie about the making of something. You've had things in the past,
Yeah.
like The Founder and things like that, or Social Network and things like that. But I was like, okay, making of a shoe. That sounds exciting. Especially, and then have Ben Affleck and Matt Damon say this is the project they wanted to do together. I mean, maybe they're just big fans of the shoe or Michael Jordan. I don't know what it was. But so but then when I actually saw a trailer for it, I'm like, wow, this actually looks intriguing. I think that, I had forgotten about the project by that point, and I'm like, actually, it seems like they have a great cast together. It's at least worth checking out. And I went and saw it, and I actually quite enjoyed it. So it was on my most surprising honorable mentions.
My number 8 is a movie that I know Brian has not seen because Brian kind of almost has a boycott on watching these movies because every time I bring, he's like, I ain't watching that. This is a movie that, once again, I had zero expectations for. Granted, the casting of one actor in this is the only reason why I checked this out. And that is Disney Plus's Peter and Wendy. Now,
I didn't watch that shit.
Exactly my point. Now the only thing that hooked me on that, because I mean, granted, like, so you have Disney going and redoing all the classic cartoons in live action, but if it's going straight to Disney Plus, there's probably a good reason why it's going straight to Disney Plus, like Lady and the Tramp and Pinocchio and all this shit. Pinocchio, one of our worst films of 2022, which Brian did not see because Brian will watch this shit.
Apparently, I was right in that case.
Granted, Pinocchio literally watches shit for like a minute in that movie. But Peter and Wendy, the one thing that hooked me into wanting to like at least check it out was that Jude Law was playing Captain Hook. And that right there was like, I want to see what that's like. And granted, it's for the most part, at least the first half or the first 2 acts, it is very much the same Peter Pan story. You got Wendy and Michael, and I forgot the little kid's name. They're they don't want to grow up and stuff. And then Peter Pan shows up. He chases his shadow. They do the thimble kiss, and then they go to Neverland. It's all very much by the numbers. Once we start to get into the second act and into the third act, there's a story plot point that starts to develop that really kind of takes the story of Peter Pan to a different level, different area. And it definitely kind of does something unique. It does something different with the characters. And at first I was like, oh, this isn't going to work. Like, this is not going to work at all. And shockingly, it did. And I enjoyed it quite a bit. I mean, it's not in my top 10 of the year, but it was one of those things where I was glad that I checked it out because it left it on a positive note based off of this particular story element. I don't want to say what it is just because for anyone who hasn't seen it and wants to see it, it's a particular storyline element for one of the characters that I did not expect. It's something that we have not seen with this character before in any of the Peter Pan films. And like I said, at first you're like, that shit's stupid. But the way they shot it, the way they acted it, the way the story progresses through the film, it actually worked. And at the end of the day, this was actually one of the more surprising films of the year for me. Like I said, not in my top 10, won't even be remotely close to my top 10 by the end of the year, because you still have the same kind of, like I said, the casting of the younger actors. The girl who plays Wendy is pretty good. Pan is kind of, he's great, and then he's not great. And then the rest of the Lost Boys stuff, they're fine. It is Jude Law's performance and the story dynamics that they changed some stuff up on that really made this thing work as one of the more positive live action recreations. But yeah, I'll go ahead and go to my next one since I already took your one honorable mention already. And surprising, this one is more because the last movie pissed me off so much that I was so hesitant to really want to give myself into liking this movie. My number 7 most surprising film of the year is Scream 6. Scream 5, or just Scream 2022, whatever. We've talked ad nauseum at this channel about the last Scream film and how I hated the last act, how I hated the ending, how you and I wrote a better ending to Scream 5, and still to this day, our ending is 1,000 times better.
It is.
And
I've come around to like the movie even more than, because I still liked it originally, but even though we had problems with it, but I've come around to like it even more. It's still not. I still think our version.
And I told you this. I told you this, like going back around and watching Scream 5 again before Scream 6. I actually liked it less rewatching it. Scream 6, I had high hopes for because of the New York dynamic. But I was still like, it's still the same characters. There's this one plot point that they really didn't utilize well in the 5th one that they could have, based off of our ending, which if you guys want to know what our ending was, I think we put it in the spoiler review for Scream 6. But damn it, Scream 6 about 80-85% of the time works fucking great. There are certain points that fall short. There are certain things that I would have done differently that Brian agrees would also done differently. We also did write a better ending to this one as well.
I think the main problem we had with it was the killer reveal. But honestly, except for the first movie, they've all been weak.
I don't know. I don't agree with that. Scream 4. I like Scream 4. I enjoyed where they were going with that with Scream 4. But other than that, yes, I agree. Outside of the first one and the 4th one, all the reveals have been pretty weak. And it wasn't necessarily the kills, because the Ghostface kills were what made this movie fucking great. I was like, oh my God, this is amazing. It was the reveal and like the motivations of the killers that really kind of made this go, flat. And it's not even that it's bad. It's not even that it's awful. It's just that you were up here like the whole time, kind of like Scream 2, because we both like Scream 2. You're riding this high wave all the way up here, and then you reveal the killer, and you're like, oh, damn.
It's like, we have a great movie. Now let's just reach into the grab bag and pick who the killers are. Okay.
Yeah, and then it's like, okay,
and then try to rationalize a reason for it.
Yeah. Now let's have them, monologue for the next 10 minutes of why they're doing it. At that point, it's like, I already don't like where this is going, so I hate this. But at the end of the day, Scream 6 was what is it? It righted the course. Is that the term? I think I'm saying it wrong.
Stayed the course?
No, it fixed it. It fixed the course. Like, because Scream 5 was veering off the wrong way. Scream 6 put it back on track to the point where I am excited to see what 7 does. Because we know we're going to get at least one more. So it's surprising for me. It's not my most surprising of the films of the year, and I probably will be talking a little bit more about Scream a little bit later in greater detail. But I was prepared to be disappointed, but I was shocked and surprised how well they did with this, even though they did fumble at the end. Do you have anything to say about Scream 6, or are you holding that off for later?
It is not on my surprise list. I will say I think you are confusing righting the ship and course correcting. You made
that's what I was saying. Am I saying it right? You're like, yeah.
That's why I tried to figure out what you were saying, but now that I know, yeah.
Yes.
But it's not on my surprise list. No.
Okay. Are you gonna be talking about it later?
Yes.
Okay, so I'll hold off on your thing. What is your other honorable mention?
My other honorable mention, I think you're going to talk about more later, is Guy Ritchie's The Covenant. And you have to call it Guy Ritchie's The Covenant because that's part of the title. This is
I hate that, by the way.
Yeah, well, I think it's probably has to do with there's other movies called The Covenants. They have to
Not good movies.
wish it. This is a movie. Not surprised because I thought it'd be bad. Mostly surprised because going into this year, I think I saw a listing for it, but hadn't really heard of it. Didn't know anything about it. Um, and honestly, Guy Ritchie, his other movie coming out, I was like, I'm way more excited about that. He's making his typical crime caper movie, and it's got Jason Statham and Hugh Grant and
Granted, that movie was supposed
Aubrey
to come out
Plaza.
like
It's supposed to come out 2 years ago.
yeah,
Yeah.
it was a 2-year-old movie.
But that's what I'm saying though. I was more excited about that movie, and so
Yeah.
I was like not even thinking about Guy Ritchie's other movie, which he's doing a serious war drama. It's not what he's known for. He's not known for serious or drama, honestly. And so I was like, yeah, it'll probably be fine, but whatever. And I was actually pretty impressed with it. So it became one of my most surprised movies of the year.
And I actually had to talk you into watching that too, because I like.
It was the one I plan to watch eventually, but I just watched it sooner because of you.
Yeah. I'm definitely talking about this one later, so I'm gonna hold off on talking about this for now. My final honorable mention for most surprising is a movie that I knew I was going to enjoy. I knew I was going to enjoy it, but I didn't know I was going to enjoy it as much as I did, and that is Extraction 2. The first Extraction film. If anyone comes to me and goes, "Hey, Sean, did you ever watch Extraction?" Yeah, what'd you think of it? Has a really, really awesome oneer in like the second act. Couldn't really tell you what the rest of the story was. Hemsworth's good. Harbour is kind of uneven in it. Has a weird ending. That's it. Couldn't really tell you anything else about it. So we get Extraction 2, which I think you and I are both like, what? Why are we getting a sequel to this? Then we saw the first trailer. We're like, okay, cool. We're getting a oneer. This is going to be really cool. What we both ended up getting, though, was not just a great oneer, which was 20 fucking minutes, and it still blows my mind to this since we've seen it, how fucking amazing that oneer is. But we actually got, to me, and I'm more, Brian's not so more on this as I am. I thought we got a way better story. The cast is better. You care about the characters this time around to the point where it's like the two other like leads in Hemsworth group. I forgot. I didn't even realize they were in the first film because that's how bland the fucking first film was. I thought they were just.
I knew the woman was. Yeah, the other guy we actually thought. We're both like, is that supposed to be the kid grown up?
Well, we both thought Yaz was the fucking kid from
no, he
the
was in the first movie. We just don't remember him at all.
Yeah, apparently they're both in it, but I don't remember them in the first film. But the villains' motivations, I thought were solid. I thought the villains were for what it was, well done. And then besides the oneer, the action sequences on top of that were incredibly shot well and really, really great. So I was blown away by how much I enjoyed this movie, and I'll be talking about it a little bit more later. But yeah, this definitely was my honorable mention. Like I said, it's 6 because I already knew I was going to enjoy parts of the movie. I just wasn't expecting to enjoy the whole damn thing. You gonna be talking about this one later?
Oh, well, it's not on my surprise list, but I know you're gonna bring it up later, so I'll talk about it more then.
Okay. Why don't you go ahead with your number 5 most surprising film of the year?
My number 5 most surprising list is on Sean's worst list, I guess. And that's Plane. Because
I said it's not on my worst.
Well, it was close though. It's your third worst movie.
Yeah, technically.
Because this is a movie. It's you're gonna find this on most of my surprises. That most of them are not, like best movie of the year anywhere near it. Not gonna make my top list. But Plane was a movie. It's like, first of all, it's called Plane. There can't be a less imaginative, stupider title than just Plane. It's got Gerard Butler, who I've really enjoyed several of his, kind of this new phase of his career, which is kind of these kind of mid-budget action movies, not the giant blockbuster kind of things, which they don't make a lot of anymore. And when they do, they usually go straight to VOD and things like that. And like when he's done like the Olympus Has Fallen and its sequels and things like that, those I've really enjoyed. But then even some of the stuff that has gone essentially VOD, it's like some of those I were not good. Some of them were enjoyable. I thought this was another throwaway one like that. I was actually, pretty impressed by this one. It went to theaters and it was fun to see there. I thought the action was well done. Gerard Butler's doing his usual thing. Again, not breaking any exciting new ground, but I was just pleasantly surprised that this was a good one, in my opinion.
I didn't hate it. I didn't hate it, but I was just the thing is that I came into it with the hype already elevated for it because everyone was talking about, oh my god, plane's actually really great and playing this, playing this, playing this. And I was like, all right, fuck, everyone's talking about this damn movie. I'll go check it out. And then I watched it and I was like, this is what everyone's losing their shit over. I was like, this is a very much a bland action film. It's not awful, but it's not this amazing fucking film that doesn't make it out to believe. I mean, Gerard Butler's solid. I don't remember the villains or their motivations in this film. The action wasn't crazy awesome or anything like that. It was just basic action, and then the movie just kind of fucking ends. That was basically it. Like, it's not bad, but it's not good either.
Well, that's because they're making a sequel. You know what it's called? Boat. I'm not even joking. Where's a ship?
Are you serious?
Yes. There's a sequel coming out called either Boat or Ship. It's following Mike Colton's character, who, like, at the end of the movie, he gets away, and this is apparently he gets on a ship. I can't wait for part 5, Trolley Car, or whatever.
I was gonna make a joke. You know what's a better sequel? The Plane, and then you cut me off with Boat, and I was like, wait, that's a fucking real thing.
It's real. It's real.
I will not be checking it out because this movie, as average as it was, it did not leave me going, I can't wait to see this character again. As much as I like Gerard Butler, The Plane and Boat and Scooter, whatever the hell you want to call the 18th film of this franchise, I don't care. I don't.
By that point, it'll be Electric Wheelchair. Yes. I will say though, I enjoyed seeing Danielle Pineda has a good part in this movie, and she was in Jurassic World 2 in the Fallen Kingdom, and then in part of Dominion. And I like her, and I wish she'd make more movies, and she got to be in this one, so I liked seeing her again. Anyway, what's your 5?
Plane. No, my number 5 is a movie that, on paper, I was like, yes, like, okay, cool. Like, I don't know how this is gonna work, but I'm here for it based off of what the movie is and the lead in it. And then I saw the trailer for it, and I was like, ooh, this is not the movie that I thought it was. I don't know if I'm gonna enjoy this. And that is, I want to say it was Apple TV's Tetris.
Apple.
I grew up in a household where my mom was addicted to Tetris. She played that thing all hours of the day. We'd be sitting watching TV, and I'd look up at her, and she was fucking playing Tetris on her Game Boy. So this is definitely or at least was a Tetris household. So when I heard that they were making a Tetris movie, I was like, oh, this is going to be about the history of Tetris and how it became a huge thing. And it is. But then I watched the trailer. I was like, oh, wait, this is all like Russian espionage and the KGB and all this shit. I was like, I don't care. Like, granted, like under normal circumstances, I would be like, oh, yeah, cool. But it's like, no, you said that this movie's Tetris. This is not fucking Tetris. Like, what is this shit? And then you had Taron Egerton, who I love. I think we both enjoy him for the most part on this channel. But when I watched the trailer, I was just like, I don't know what this movie is. Is this movie about Tetris, or is it just a fake thing to make you like hook you in? But then it's really all about this. So I wasn't super excited about it. But as we've gotten to the movie, it actually is both. It's this espionage, KGB, Russian spy thriller that revolves around the creation and the popularity of Tetris. And they actually wove it in incredibly well. And I will be talking more about it later, but it did surprise me because I saw the trailer and I immediately went, nah, and not excited about it. But the movie did its best to heed those disappointments and actually make it a surprising success for me. Do you have Tetris in any conversations at all?
Yes, I should have stopped you from talking because it's higher up on my list, but since we already talked about it, this is going to be my number 2 on surprises. So I should have surprised. I've already broken our format. Sorry.
Give it, Brian.
No, this will be my number 2 most surprised movie. For a lot of the same reasons as you. It's like I hear they're making a movie about like the making of the Tetris game, and again, like with Air, I'm just like, okay, I'm not sure how you make a movie about the making of this video game. It's not like, Social Network or something where it's this, big deal. And then I saw that, forgot about it again. Then I saw this trailer for it, and like you, I'm like, is this about the game? Is it the same title, but it's a whole different story? Am I missing something? Like, no,
Yeah.
wait, no, it is about the making of Tetris, but it's this, espionage thriller with all this Russian stuff going on. And part of me is thinking, is this like a satire? Like, is this like it's like Weird Al's biopic, where it's like, it's the making of Tetris, but it's like this, wacky story they built around it. But no, apparently it's all very much based in truth, and it's actually quite intriguing. And I think it did a good job of writing this fine line of being a serious drama, because there's a lot of serious things going on, but there's still, at times it was lighthearted when it needed to be, and it was still, because it's about a video game, so you can't be completely serious. And a lot of that does come down to Taron Egerton and his performance.
He's great in the movie.
Yeah. So again, this is one I basically not heard of, and then when I saw the trailer, I was like, and then I watched the movie, I'm like, that wasn't bad. So it made my surprise the most.
What was your
my number 4?
Plane was 5, right?
Plane was 5.
Okay, what's your number 4?
My number 4 is a movie I had never heard of until one day a trailer dropped on YouTube, and I watched this thing. This is a movie from, was it Sweden, I think, called Sisu.
I still have not seen this movie.
Sisu, which is so Lionsgate, who made the John Wick movies, drops this trailer, and it's about this guy who apparently has this history of like being this, basically a super soldier, and everyone just hearing who he is and his name, it's legendary. Like, oh, don't be scared of this guy. And he's got a dog with him. It basically seems like it's the Swedish or Norse, I'm not sure what it is, John Wick. And that's kind of what we got. Well, the things when I saw the first trailer, it's like once you see him throw a landmine and it hits a guy's head and explodes and blows him up, I was in.
It is a pretty cool shot.
So now, did the movie live up to the trailer for me? Not quite, because I mean, I enjoyed the movie, but it's one of those things where the trailers gave away most of the action moments. There's a lot of downtime and things like that. I still enjoyed the movie, just not as much as the trailer had me hyped up for. But just the fact that this was a movie that came out of nowhere, had never heard of it, had never heard of the concept of it, and it came out and it was still quite enjoyable. It made my surprise list at number 4.
Yeah, I still haven't seen this movie, so I don't have an opinion on it. All I know is that with the trailer, I think you showed me the trailer, and I remember watching it with you, and I'm watching it and everything, and then that mine thing came in, and you lost it because it popped up with the trailer of the mine. I immediately went, like, you started laughing. You're like, that was my expression when I first saw it.
Exactly.
And,
by the way, that's just a self-correction. It's Finnish from Finland. So, gotcha.
Okay, yeah. But it was one of those things where, and much like how it was Fool's Paradise and another movie, Blackberry, they weren't released in my area, so I couldn't watch it. So it was one of those things where I was like, yeah, I probably would, if it was released in my area, I probably would have checked it out. But then it got to the point where it's like, I'm now so far removed from it that it's like, could I watch it at home? Sure, but I don't think about like, yeah, let's watch Sisu. And it's like, no, I got other shit to do.
I'd say when it drops somewhere on streamer that you have, I'd say it's definitely worth checking out. Just know that it's not like, gonna be like bust of the year or anything.
Yeah, it's just not one of those things where it's like I want to spend the money to rent it or buy it or anything like that right now. But when it does pop on like a Prime or something like that, I'll probably definitely check it out. But yeah, I definitely have not checked that out or seen it yet, outside of the really cool trailer, which I agree is a cool trailer.
Yeah, it's a movie that it really wanted to be basically John Wick crossed with like Inglourious Bastards.
Yeah, exactly, because it's very
it doesn't
much
live up to either one of those, because those are big shoes to fill. So.
Yeah, it's basically if John Wick wanted to kill Nazis,
yeah, then
that's what Sisu is. Which formula wise, that's great. That's a great formula. But yeah, I just never saw it. But
okay.
Yeah. Going to my number 4, this was a movie. I remember talking about this with you during our summer and most anticipated, and you're just like, we'll see what it's like. And I was like, nah, man, like I'm actually excited for this, but I'm gonna heed my expectations because I've been burned before. Jurassic World, Fallen Kingdom, and Dominion greatly. But this movie did exceed in exceeding my expectations and making me very, very happy. Didn't crack my top 10, so I can actually like talk about it in this one. And that is Transformers Rise of the Beasts. Now, once again, I have talked about the Transformers franchise ad nauseum on this channel with Brian about how Michael Bay ruined my childhood because I was a big Transformers fan, loved the Transformers show, Beast Wars, all that fun stuff. And then, Michael Bay just went and fucking ruined it with the Transformers films outside of like the first one to a point. But after Bumblebee, there was some hope because Bumblebee was a solid film, but it still wasn't much of a Transformers movie, but more of like, E.T. or a boy and his dog kind of story. So with Transformers Rise of the Beasts, obviously the big hook for me was the Beast, the Beast Wars connection to it, which I watched when I was younger. Brian never watched that. Of course, Anthony Ramos, who we both love on the channel. But once again, even though Michael Bay was like a producer and not directing, there was hope, but still we have not seen a legitimate Transformers film post Michael Bay. So there was expectations, but there was also worriedness when it came to watching this film. And is it a good film? Like outside of Transformers, it's a fine movie. By Transformers, range, it is one of the best Transformers movies that has been made. The new Transformers are solid. The look of them is way better. The action is easier to see. It's easier to actually recognize who's who, and it's not just a hunk of metal hitting another hunk of metal. The human element is still the weakest part of the franchise. It's a thing that you give the shit about the least. But they're the Beast Wars or the wow, blanking on the fucking names of the characters right now. I really, really enjoyed it. I think everything that it did made me now excited about where they're going next with this. And the twist at the end, I know Brian wasn't a huge fan of it. I actually think it was actually a smart twist. And I'm excited to see where they go about with that, with the future films. But yeah, this was definitely one of my more surprising films of the year because Transformers has disappointed me for so many years now that I'm finally starting to feel the turn of actually starting to be excited about these movies again. Was this on your list at all anywhere?
This was not on my surprising list, but I will be talking about it later.
Okay. What was your number 3?
My number 3 most surprising movie. Again, this is not going to be anywhere near my best list. It's like mid-range at best for the year, but just in terms of surprising, by the very definition of it, for me, was The Pope's Exorcist. It's a movie starring Russell Crowe. Exorcism movies are a dime a dozen these days. They come out and they go, and I can't even tell them apart. You could give me a title of one, and I wouldn't know which one you're talking about because they all just blur together.
Yep.
And unfortunately, most of them are forgettable to awful. So I basically don't even pay attention to most of them. This one had Russell Crowe in it. So I was at least intrigued by the idea of it. I believe there's somebody else in it that I knew. I don't remember offhand. But I was like, you know what? I watched the trailer.
Not like huge cast name.
Yeah, no. I think maybe somebody I recognize. But I was like, oh, I know. It's the director of Overlord. Is the guy who directed this. So him and Russell Crowe, I'm like, you know what? Maybe I'll check it out. I watched the trailer. I'm like, okay, it doesn't blow me away. It still looks like every other exorcism movie ever made, but I'll check it out. And it was actually a pretty solid film. Again, it wasn't going to be anywhere near the top of my list or anything, but in terms of this genre or this subgenre, it's leagues above most other exorcism movies I've seen, including The Exorcist, which I think is a highly overrated movie. I think Russell Crowe had a great personality to him. He's kind of an odd character. You expect this very serious, priest coming to exercise. He's got a little bit of, lightheartedness to him. He's got some personality to him, and he just played it very well. And I think that the scares were, legitimate. I think that the tone of it was done very well, and I think a lot of that's thanks to Julius Avery, the director. And it was just, it surprised me that it turned out to be pretty solid when I went in with low expectations.
Yeah, this was another one that technically by standards of my worst, this is in my top 10 worst, but this movie's not a bad movie. I actually enjoyed this movie for what it was. And I agree with you, everything you said about the exorcism movies and especially The Exorcist being overrated as fuck, because it is. The best exorcism movie ever, in my opinion, is The Exorcism of Emily Rose, and you will not be able to change my mind otherwise on that. But Pope's Exorcist, the hook was that Russell Crowe was doing this. Why would Russell Crowe, of all people, be wanting to do a movie like this?
Right.
And granted, he's not the same actor that he once was, but he's still Russell fucking Crowe. So I checked this out as well because I was like, I gotta see why he did this movie. And I agree. The story is still very much the
Typical,
same kind
yeah,
of movies you've seen. Yeah. It's not breaking the mold in that by any means, but Russell Crowe is actually giving a well earned performance through this. He's not sleepwalking through this film that we've seen with some other actors. He's actually genuinely giving his all in this. I think this, like you said, the scares, the exorcism parts of the film, I think are shot very well. I do think they go a little too far in the third act, which to unbelievability, because it's supposed to be like true events kind of things to a point. But I think it utilized everything to the point to be a top tier Exorcist movie. Now, in terms of horror, it's about middle of the road. But as an Exorcist film, it's one of the better ones I've seen in a very, very long time. So yeah, this is actually a very, very solid film. If you guys are fans of exorcism films or anything like that, and you guys haven't checked this out yet, that's definitely one you should check out. And I think I think Russell Crowe even said he wants to do more of these. He enjoyed playing this character so much.
I don't see it happening, but
box office wise, no. They're
check it out if you did, but it's not going to happen. Yeah.
Yeah, but he even said that he would come back and play this role again, and I would totally come back and see him play this role again because I did actually enjoy this at the end of the day. But yeah,
and I've already done my 2, so you can go ahead and do your 3 and 2.
Yeah. Okay. All right. My number 3 is a movie that Brian has not seen because he's refusing to see it. He'll see it at some point, but he has not seen it yet. And I will also be talking about this later, so I'm going to go bare bones with this. This is a movie that I wanted to really, really enjoy. I wanted it to be good. I really, really did. But I hate the studio that did it. I've never really liked anything that the studio has done. I've been okay with their movies, but most of the time I've hated their movies. So I was worried because I wanted to enjoy this. And shockingly, at the end of the day, I had a blast with this movie. And that is Super Mario Brothers. Or I'm sorry, the Super Mario Brothers movie, if I'm saying the title correctly. Everything in this movie that shouldn't have worked. But that's all I'm gonna say because I'm gonna be talking about this later. And Brian
I
is not
thought
seeing
Bob
it.
Hoskins did a good job, and wait, wrong one.
Yeah, wrong one. We did talk about that one on Cinemaphile.
Yeah.
So
I will watch it when it's dropping on Peacock on like August 3rd. So
yeah, my number 2 is another movie that and I will be talking about it later as well. So I'm not gonna go full blown into it. But this is another movie that the premise and the plot of it had me intrigued because of what it was, but the trailer felt very lacking and the trailer didn't do much to sell me on it. And I remember I went and saw this with my girlfriend and I was like, well, let's just go see it. I'm not expecting to be blown away by this, but ended up being blown away by how well done this movie was. And that was The Boogeyman. Like I said, it's based off wasn't it a Stephen King short story?
I believe it was definitely Stephen King. I think it was a short story. Yeah.
Yeah, it was a short story because it definitely is no Boogeyman novel of this. Cast wise, I was excited about it, but the trailers just felt very lacking. It just felt like I've seen this movie before. And we've said this many times, Brian and I have about certain films, is that if you're going to do the same movie over and over and over again, you have to do something a little bit different to just make it feel unique. Much like Freaky did with the body swapping, or Happy Death Day did with the Groundhog Day effect. You have to do something that's a little bit different to really sell why this movie is going to be better than the 15 to 20 other films we've already seen before. And Boogeyman did that for me. Brian did check it out. Is this even on any of your lists or anything like that?
No, this was very much. It was a solid movie. It didn't impress me. Didn't disappoint me. It was good.
Yeah, I'm gonna be talking about this one later, but this was definitely my number 2 most surprising film of the year. What was your number 1?
My number 1. Actually, none of my surprises are in my best list this year. Or at least this part of the year.
When we get to the end of the year, that is a thing that I do, is that I'm not allowed to have my surprising be in my top 10, but
yeah,
half year, I can't control
I don't
that.
mind them overlapping. It didn't happen to this time. My surprises were just a lot of stuff that, wasn't the best, but it definitely surprised me. My number one is going to continue our trend with Air and Tetris, and my number one is going to be Blackberry. Another movie is like, hey, this is the making of the Blackberry. It's like, okay, how many films do we get on the making of things this year? This is a movie I didn't even know was coming out again until I saw a trailer for it. It's made by like some small like Canadian studio or something like that. It stars Glenn Howerton from It's Always Sunny
It's
in
always me.
Philadelphia, Jay Baruchel, who we like pretty much everything he does as well. This is another one where it's like it's got a strange tone to it because it's definitely a drama because it's taking the story seriously, but there's plenty of comedy and like comedic moments in it, but it's not a comedy, I wouldn't say. But it's one of those things, I don't know anything about the story behind the making of the Blackberry and the history of it, and so it's interesting to see on that front. I was actually, kind of intrigued on, how it all came about and why there was such drama behind it. I thought that everyone played the roles real well. I think Jay Baruchel and the guy who plays his partner, who's actually the director of the movie, I don't have the name in front of me. But I thought they all did a great job. And it's just another one of those movies that surprised me because I had never heard of it. And it made me interested in a rather, bland story that you wouldn't think would make for a decent 2-hour movie, but it did.
Yeah, I still have not got to see this movie yet. This is just like with Fool's Paradise and Sisu. I wanted to see this movie so badly because I'm a huge It's Always Sunny in Philadelphia fan. And I knew about this movie over a year ago because Glenn Howerton actually shaved his head for this role. And so like they had like Rob McElhenney and like Charlie Day like shave his head and shit on like their podcasts and stuff like that. So I knew about this role and I wasn't like, oh, I can't wait to see it. But then I saw the trailer for it. I was like, oh my God, this is almost like The Social Network. To a point, I was like, I really want to see this movie. And of course, not released in my area. And yes, it's out on digital right now, but it's not out on any streaming services. So I'm kind of just waiting for that to happen. But I haven't heard nothing but good things.
Yeah.
About this movie.
I mean, it's no Social Network. It's not nearly on the same level
Well,
as
no.
David Fincher film or in terms of the drama and things like that. But it's just, it's a fun little film.
This is definitely a movie that I know if I watched it, it could very well be on this list for me, maybe even on my best of list. But because I haven't seen it yet, that's why. But I'm sure Glenn Howerton kills it in this movie. Jay Baruchel, I like most of his movies, not necessarily because of him, mostly it's the cast around him. But this is definitely a movie that I really want to see. Just haven't got to yet.
And your number one?
My number one is a movie that you already brought up. It's from a director that I can't stand, that I find annoying as hell. I went into this movie with absolutely zero expectations. I watched it literally because of the lead, and that the trailer was actually intriguing. Little did I know that this movie was going to not only be the most surprising film of the year, but one of my favorite films of the year. So I'll obviously speak about it a little bit later as well, and that is Guy Ritchie's The Covenant. I just want to say The Covenant.
So you broke the format before I did, because you should have told me to stop talking about it.
No, you knew it was gonna be on my surprise, and let's be real here, Brian. You knew it was on my list. But yeah, this movie, obviously I had a very, very low bar, so it definitely exceeded my expectations. But I just remember watching this movie and like halfway through it, I was like, oh my God, do I actually love a Guy Ritchie film? What is wrong with me? And I remember telling Brian this. Like I said, I talked Brian into watching this movie. I was like, this is the least Guy Ritchie movie I've ever seen, and I love it. And I will talk about it more a little bit later. But that was my number one most surprising film of the year so far. Now we're gonna go to the section where it gets fun, because this is when we tend to get very agitated and heated and annoyed. It is now the most disappointing films of the year. Now, I will say this or preface this like we do every year. Disappointing doesn't necessarily mean bad.
It can, but it doesn't necessarily.
Yes. We could still like these movies, but it had not hit the expectations that we felt like it deserved to be at and where we feel that it should be at. Yes, there are some stinkers in this list, But at the end of the day, most of these disappointings are movies that we still liked at the end of the day, but disappointed us in our expectations. I've got 4 honorable mentions for this. How many do you have?
2.
2. All right, so I'll do with my top 2, or not my top 2, but I'll do 2 of my honorable mentions. One of them you've seen, one of them you haven't seen. The first one, granted, I knew the movie wasn't going to be great, but I just wanted it to be something remotely close to the television series that I loved. Especially since I went back and rewatched the whole television series before they released the movie here in January, and that was Paramount Plus's Teen Wolf, the movie. When they announced that they were going to make a Teen Wolf or bring back Teen Wolf in a movie form, I was excited, and then they announced that Dylan O'Brien wasn't coming back, and I immediately went, "Fuck, this is not going to be as good as I expected." But going back and rewatching the whole series before the movie came out, I obviously was excited because I got reintroduced to all the characters again. And outside of Dylan O'Brien, everyone came back, and so it was nice seeing everyone, back in the group playing these characters that I enjoyed watching. But the movie itself was just, it felt like 2-3 episodes kind of just molded into one. Like, it didn't feel like big enough to be a movie. It just felt like they decided to just put 3 episodes together and shoot it. Everyone plays their role well. Some people got more to do in this than others, but at the end of the day, like, as I was watching it, I was like, this just made me miss the show. And not really go, I'm so glad I'm watching these guys again. It was just made me go, I kind of just want to go back and rewatch the TV series because I was happier watching the TV series than watching this film. That, not having Dylan O'Brien back, who was literally like everyone's like favorite character from the show, greatly hurt because Dylan O'Brien got bigger than the show did. And he was like that near the end of the show too. He was barely in the last season because he was off doing like Maze Runner and all that other shit. Like I said, not a bad movie. I think Brian would probably think it's a bad movie but Brian also never watched any of the Teen Wolf series or anything like that. But for what Teen Wolf was, it's okay, but nowhere near the quality of what the show was. Going to my number 8 most disappointing film of the year. This was a movie that you and I had been talking about, I think, since last year with most anticipated, just based off the 2 leads and the premise. This was a movie that we thought was going to be funny and great, and it was to points, but it never reached the expectations that you and I had, and that is Ghosted. Chris Evans in comedy roles are actually pretty great. Ana de Armas, what haven't we said about the gorgeously amazing Ana de Armas? So you add this kind of rom-com action film element with spies and stuff, but it's still a rom-com in the mix of it. How could this fail? And it's not that it failed, it's just that it felt very much like a streaming movie. Like, they were playing it safe for most of the film. And then when it did try to get a little, not to say their hands here, but when they did try to go to the next level, it worked, but then it also didn't work at the same time because it felt extra, but sometimes it flowed well, sometimes it didn't. Ana de Armas and Chris Evans, they're solid in the film. And while they're 2 very, very attractive people and great, people to watch together, you never fully ever really believed the relationship that they had, but I still had fun watching it. But it never really reached that level of where I was going to actively enjoy it or want to rewatch this movie over and over and over again. So that's why it's my number 8. Was this on your list? I feel like it is.
It is. This I will talk about. Well, this is my number 5. It actually was not a honorable mention. Yeah, because this is a movie we love them both. It was, if I remember, isn't it like produced by the Russo brothers too?
I think so.
So yeah, so it's like it had all the credentials behind it, but the main thing what appealed was the 2 leads, and again, kind of either a Mr. and Mrs. Smith, kind of romancing the stone kind of vibe, the action comedy kind of thing. And it was
or Night and Day.
Or the 9 Day. Actually, yeah,
Night
it's probably closer. It's like basically a gender swap Night and Day.
Yeah.
And it was not by any means a bad movie. It was just not everything we hoped it would be, like you said. I mean, you got Ana de Armas, who, we've said for a long time we want her to be this great star because she's not only is she beautiful, but we know she can handle like action. I mean, she was like in the best part of No Time to Die, even though
Yeah,
they wasted her in like what 20 minutes of the movie, something like that.
less than that.
Um, yeah. So, but she was the best part of that. So we know she can handle her action. I'm hoping to see she has great success with Ballerina coming out next year. It's going to be on my most anticipated next year. We'll talk about that later in the year.
Yep.
But this one is I was highly anticipating because it's her and Chris Evans back together again. They just done Knives Out, and it was fine. The action was fine. The comedy was okay. It just never quite hit those levels that we expected it to. Chris Evans, it's kind of weird seeing him kind of play just kind of the helpless doofus. He's actually felt more like his role in Cellular here than he did in like the Captain Americas and other things we were used to seeing him in.
Yeah.
So it was an okay movie. It just was not all we hoped it to be.
Plus, I love that. Apparently, if you were a wrestler in high school, you could take on spies and mercenaries very, very well.
Yeah.
And now that I know, with my MMA wrestling background, no one on this earth can touch me.
Well, as
Except
we've
for
learned from the
Chris
Fast and Furious movies, all you have to do is be the good guys, and you can beat any trained mercenaries,
That's very, very true.
even the
You also
elite.
can do, you can also see the future. You also will be impervious to pain or damage of any kind. You're basically Wolverine.
Yeah, so there's that to it. But yeah, I mean, this is fine. I will say, like you said, the main problem I think was chemistry of the two, which I think those two can have great chemistry. They could have great chemistry with a better script or more time to develop
Yeah,
their
it was
relationship.
more the writing.
But I mean, the whole thing is based on the premise of they had a one night stand, and then he stalked her to Europe. So
Yeah.
do with that what you will.
Not to mention that their very, very first interaction is so cringily bad.
Yeah, that was a weird first interaction, but the thing is, I could believe both of them would hook up for a one night stand. It's like she, it's all business, and she's like, you know what, I'm gonna let myself have some fun tonight. I buy that they could have that one night stand.
Yeah,
but I don't buy a relationship growing.
I also couldn't buy that Chris Evans was playing this Chris Evans could not find a woman who wanted someone that was like attentive, not necessarily. I mean, you could say
and looks
clingy.
like Chris Evans.
Yeah, that looks like Chris Evans, but it's maybe a little clingy, but just wants love. Who looks like Chris Evans? You're telling me no woman wants that? Shut the fuck up. That's like putting like Rachel Lee Cook, and she's all that saying she's not attractive, she's ugly. I'm like, that is Rachel Lee.
Well,
Cook.
yeah, she had glasses and a ponytail.
Ugh, yeah, I know, right? But yeah, so the premise itself was a little unbelievable to say the least. But we were able to roll with it, but to a point, it got a little ridiculous.
Oh, it was produced by the Russo brothers, directed by Dexter Fletcher, who did Rocket Man, Eddie the Eagle.
Yeah, that was another part of the disappointment, is that I expected it to be so much better because of them.
Yeah.
And in spite of that, it was just average at best. Why don't you go ahead? That was your fifth, so you still haven't done your honorable mentions, right?
Yeah, my honorable mentions, I have just two. I don't think you've seen either of them. One is The Machine. Bert Kreischer. I like his stand-up comedy. He's a really funny guy. They decided to make a movie out of basically one of the stories he tells in his stand-up act, and it's an entertaining story. And I'm like, you know what? Maybe if they felt it was enough to make a movie out of, and it was just okay. It honestly wasn't that funny. It was not terrible, not great, but I went in with some kind of, I guess, bigger expectations than I should have, just because his stand-up comedy is so good, but not everything translates. You have not seen that, correct?
No.
My other disappointment is honorable mention is The Blackening. This is a movie that I didn't really know it was coming out. Basically, the first things I ever saw for it were like the posters, which basically is the all black cast, and says, we can't all die first, which is kind of the big joke with horror movies. But again, this is a movie that kind of had one joke to it, and it just, I think I described it as a horror comedy that was neither scary nor funny. And again, when you fail on both those fronts, it just doesn't work, because it's completely predictable, even if you just watch the trailer for it. And the jokes, just, I'd say 80% of them fell flat.
Yeah, this is a movie that I was actually really excited for because the trailers were funny. But I said this on the show. I was like, I'm not gonna go see this in theaters because I feel like it's a trap for me to go see this in theaters. So I'll wait for streaming. And then you said you went and saw it like during the day one day when there's not many people there, and that it was disappointing to you, which made me very sad because I thought this movie was gonna be pretty funny. I'm still gonna check it out.
Well, that's why I had it as a disappointment because I'm like, this could be funny. It has the potential to be funny, but it wasn't.
Yeah, I'm still gonna check it out when it eventually goes to streaming. But I am gonna lower my expectations, which might maybe make me like it more because I'm lowering my
And
expectations.
it's not on my worst list. It was just disappointment.
Yeah. Did you have another honorable mention?
Nope, that's it.
Okay. My number 5, which, you know what? I'm gonna swap my 4 and my 5. Because we already
Game
talked
time
about
decision. Okay.
well, because we already talked about my 4, so let's just go ahead and just
Okay.
get it out of the way. So my new number 5 is Quasi. For the most part, the same reasons I already explained.
Hold on to that thought. Let's hold on to that one.
What's that?
Let's hold on to that one. It's higher on my list.
Okay, so my number 5 is Quasi.
Okay.
And you already did your 5, so go ahead to your 4.
My 4 is Cocaine Bear.
You
This
are
is not
so excited for this fucking movie.
Well, the thing is, I wasn't excited. This is
Brian
not
has
one.
been talking about this damn movie for over 2 years.
This is not one that I was excited about, like going to be best movie of the year or anything. But I'm like, this has the potential to be a hilarious comedy. I mean, the whole concept of it is just a bear gets in some cocaine and just wreaking havoc on these people out in the forest. It's a great concept for it. I mean, as a drama, it'd be kind of a weird or a schlocky horror movie. But as a comedy, there's a lot to it. And then you got Elizabeth Banks in it, and you had actually a lot of people in the cast we like to it. And it was just, I watched it and it was.
Wait. Elizabeth Banks directed it. Kerry Russell was in the cast.
I'm sorry. Yeah. I meant she directed it. Yes.
Yeah.
Sorry. That's what I meant to say. It was amusing. I mean, it had funny moments in it, but it's just overall, it was definitely disappointing. It wasn't. It's like, it seems like with this concept, they could have done so much more with it, and just the choices they chose to go in the story with it. It's way too much focus on the humans and 15 plot lines we didn't care about, and it's just like just have people running from the bear. I mean, is it that hard to just make that into a comedy? But it was what it was. Not awful, but not nearly as good as I hoped it'd be.
This one probably should have been on my most disappointing list, but I still had fun with it. I really did. I mean, it wasn't a perfect film.
They were still fun. Yeah, it's not a bad movie by any means.
But. Yeah. If I was probably gonna add, like, to round it out and make it a top 10, Cocaine Bear probably would have been my number 10. But yeah, I agree. They do spend way too much time on the humans. There's like about a good 40 minutes where it's like they don't even bring the bear in, and it's like you can't start the movie with the bear and then go 40 minutes without the bear. Also, outside of like Kerry Russell and like you don't really give a shit about any of the other human characters. So why keep developing these plot points and these characters for us when we really just don't give a shit because we just want to watch the bear fucking be a bear? But when they do,
one of those that also was wasted because, I mean, besides Kerry Russell, you had Alden Ehrenreich, who I actually like, and I want to see him get better roles and be in more movies because after Solo kind of torpedoed his career, even though I didn't dislike it.
Yeah.
O'Shea Jackson Jr. is in it. So there actually, for me, there was a lot of people in there I liked, but just wasted anyway. Sorry.
And Ray Liotta.
Yeah, and Ray Liotta.
But when the movie does let the bear be a fucking bear, it's fucking great.
It is.
And I think I loved those moments so much that's why my brain didn't go disappointing, because when they delivered the bear stuff, they delivered the bear stuff. You just had to wait for the bear stuff to happen. But yeah, I probably, like I said, if I was going to do a top 10, this would definitely make the list, but I didn't want to fully round out a top 10. So that's why this one fell off for me. My number 4 is a movie that I remember. This is once again a movie that I had on my anticipated list last year. Did not know anything about it. All I knew was the 2 leads and a very basic premise. That's all I went with. And I was like, okay, well, this could be a fun movie. I'll put this on my anticipated. Then they dropped the trailer and we figured out what this movie was. And my expectation levels for it went from like a 4 to a 10. And I was so damn excited for this movie, because how can this movie fail? And that was 65. how can this movie fail? By literally showing the most wasted potential of a movie this whole year. This was my number one, but the three movies in front of it are basically films that should have been leagues better than what they were, but fell way short of the finish line. This is a movie that had Adam Driver. It had was it Ariana Greenblatt? I think is the young girl's name.
Greenblatt or Goldblatt? I can't remember.
I think it's Greenblatt.
Greenblatt, yeah.
Who, when I've seen her in things, is actually very well, very good at young actress. They're from the future, and they somehow go, transport to the past where the dinosaurs are, and it's basically them trying to survive on Earth with dinosaurs. How did you make this movie boring? How did you make this movie lack any fun or any excitement outside of like the last 10 minutes? There's so much wasted potential in this film. And I'm not even blaming Greenblatt or Driver, because they're doing fine in the movie. You do have some stupid plot devices where it's like she can't understand him, so they're doing facial like hand movement stuff, but then all of a sudden she like gets him so easily with certain things, and it's like that's not how the brain works. But there's so much of this movie, and it's super quick. Like this movie needed like another 30-40 minutes to really pad the story for extra scenes, some added character development, even some added, not monster, but dinosaur sequences. This movie could have been something great. And it became a forgettable, missable, and utter disappointment for me. And by the end, I just remember watching this movie and just being just utterly sad. Because I knew what this movie could have been. And it didn't even reach the potential. It wasn't even in the same fucking galaxy of the potential that this movie should have been. Was this on your list at all?
No, I think my opinion of the movie is pretty much right in line with yours, pretty much. But you went into it with much higher expectations than I did, so it wasn't really a disappointment for me. It's about what I expected, honestly.
Yeah. What was your number 4?
4?
Yeah.
4?
Yeah, because your 5 was Cocaine Bear, right?
No, 4 was Cocaine Bear.
Okay, what's your number 3? Sorry.
3. Yeah, sorry, confused me. Sorry. I was just making sure I double check my list. Okay, number 3 is another movie I know we were both excited about. I don't know if you have it higher on your list, or maybe it's not on your list. It is We Have a Ghost. Christopher Landon, director of things like Freaky and the 2 Happy Death Day movies, I think has really breathed fresh air into the horror genre, the horror comedy genre. Really, he had basically, in my opinion, 3 hits in a row. And then in this one, you're going to add in a cast that's led by David Harbour. I'm like, how can you go wrong in this movie? Anthony Mackie's also in it. But the problem is, I watched the movie and I was just kind of bored by it. It wasn't all that funny. You got David Harbour with like this bad haircut, as being this ghost who can't even talk. Yeah, and he can't even like talk to anybody most of the time. And it's just like, in the story of it, and again, this is not a bad movie. It's not a good movie. It's just kind of there. And just, I think, based on those 3 previous movies in a row that Christopher Landon had done, and we were looking forward to more. Like, I hope he makes more Happy Death Days, but at this point, it looks like it's not going to happen. But again, it's like I want to see what he does next, and this comes out, and as soon as I heard it's coming to Netflix, I'm like, okay, well, that doesn't mean it's bad anymore, because sometimes these directors get these offers, like, fine, I'll make a movie for Netflix, but it just definitely was not up to the standards of his previous movies.
Yeah, this did not make my disappointing, because while we were both excited for it, the trailer was so wah-wah.
I will say that the trailer, when I saw the trailer, it did drop my expectations quite a bit. But just based on my original expectations of it, it was definitely disappointing.
Yeah, it was one of those things where it's like, once we saw the trailer for it, I immediately was like, oh, this is not going to be as good as I thought it was. Yeah. And so I had already lowered my expectations going into the film, that once I watched it, I was like, that matched exactly what I thought it was going to be. It wasn't bad. It just kind of like 65, it had this potential and it had these options, and it basically had this same problem with Willy Wonderland, which was one of my worst films of last year. Is how do you cast someone as charismatic as David Harbour and you put him in a movie and say you're not allowed to talk? That is one of the dumbest things. That's why Willy's Wonderland didn't work. It's basically Five Nights at Freddy's with Nick Cage, but then you tell Nick Cage you don't have a single line in this movie. Are you stupid? That's the whole reason we're coming to see this is Nick Cage battling fucking killer animatronics, and you're not gonna let Nick Cage go Nick Cage. You're not gonna let him do that. Well, what is wrong with you? Same thing with Harbour. You have Harbour playing a ghost, and you're just having him kind of be like Casper to a point, with no vocals or anything like that. And like I said, and it wasn't even that it was disappointing. It was just like, I don't think you guys understood the project, because you try to add this heart and stuff, which you did, but by not allowing Harbour to talk, you basically cut yourselves off at the knees, and you cut yourself off out of a great character. That you also add, once again, Jennifer fucking Coolidge has one scene in there that's just like, oh my god, stop putting her in things. But yeah, it's like, it wasn't bad, but I had already lowered my expectations down so low before it came out that it exactly matched what I thought it was going to be. So that's why it's not on my list. I just like you lowered it, but like much like with 65, yours wasn't as high.
Mm-hmm.
Mine was way lower than yours. So like it hit exactly where I thought it was, and that's why it wasn't on my list. My number 3, kind of in the same boat. We were both excited to see it, but my expectations, because of what it was supposed to do, was higher than yours. So I don't know if this is on your list at all or not. This is a movie that not necessarily was bad, but really hurt more than helped where this franchise is going, and that was Ant-Man and the Wasp: Quantumania. You have an MCU movie, which right there should be a W. 9 times out of 10, be an MCU movie that should already be a win. Ant-Man and the Wasp, granted, the first 2 movies, they are, to me, 2 of the lower ones in the totem pole. Not because they're bad, because they are what they are. They're not movies that you want to go back and rewatch over and over again. They're just very much like kind of one-off films. So you're like, what can we do with Ant-Man and the Wasp: Quantumania? We can make it an Avengers level kind of film by adding the new Thanos, the new big bad that everything's leading up to, which at that point made this movie jump all the way up to here in expectations, because you're like, oh shit, if they're adding Kang, this movie is way more important than we think it is. Then we're adding, are they going to kill Ant-Man? Are they going to kill Wasp? Because you got to do something big. If you're going to bring Kang in, which granted he was in Loki, but it's like, if you're bringing Kang in to be actual Kang, the expectations of what this movie is supposed to be is at an all-time high. And this movie missed in every way imaginable. If anything, it hurt the excitement of Kang, and nothing with Jonathan Majors aside. That's a whole other different situation. But this movie, if anything, made me go, if Ant-Man and the Wasp can defeat Kang, why should we be worried about the rest of the Avengers in the future films that we already know that are coming in like 2025, 26, all this kind of stuff? The story itself, there was bad character decisions, bad character writing, such as like Michelle Pfeiffer in the movie, where she just kept, holding stuff back, important information, holding stuff back, so that way she could do an exposition dump later in the film. It lacked anything fun in the movie. At the end of the day, I still was like, it was okay, but by MCU levels, this was an epic disappointment, and it hurts the anticipation of this amazing character that we got a tease of in Loki. But now, when we get to him again, depending on who plays him or not now, you're just like, you fucking lost to Ant-Man and the Wasp. Why am I worried about you? Hulk should destroy you in an instant. Thor should beat you in an instant. Hell, the Young Avengers probably have a good chance of beating you. Why? Because the weakest fucking Avenger possible beats you. And just utter disappointment for me. Was this on your list?
No, this is not on my most disappointing list because this is exactly what I expected it to be. The Ant-Man movies, like I said, like you said, have been enjoyable, but they've definitely been at the bottom of the list for me. There are things in it I liked. I like seeing Michelle Pfeiffer get a lot more to do. I like to see her have bigger parts. Jonathan Majors, I thought did a good job. I mean, he obviously is playing different versions of Kang in the different projects, whether Loki to this to future ones. There apparently are many iterations of Kang. I thought he was fine in this movie. I like the family dynamics. I like Catherine Newton coming in as Cassie. The problem for me is that I hate the whole quantum realm. I hate the whole cosmic look, the goofy looking aliens and things like that. It was all just dumb. And I knew that going in. I watched the trailers, I'm like, I'm not going to like this whole setting of the movie, which is where 90% of the movie takes place, and I didn't like it. Things like Bill Murray being in it was completely pointless. But really, what really dragged this movie down for me is MODOK, who is hands down the stupidest thing that has ever been in any MCU movie to date.
Second, because we still have the Eternals.
As far as just stupid, was not an enjoyable movie, but he is the stupidest thing that has ever been anything. I hated everything about MODOK. The only good MODOK is Patton Oswalt voiced him on the Hulu show. Watch that; it's hilarious. But MODOK here was just dumb. It didn't work at all. But again, I went into this with my expectations pretty low, and it pretty much I thought, well, maybe it'll exceed my expectations and pleasantly surprise me, and it didn't. It was right what I expected, which is,
Yeah, you kind of knew exactly where this movie was gonna not where it was gonna go, but you get to that one point at the end of the movie where Cassie's talking to MODOK, and she's like, "You don't have to be a dick," and it was like he had this revelation where he's like, "Oh, I don't have to be a dick," and then you get that line where he turns on Kang. He's like, "My name is Darren. And I'm not a dick," and then you have the flashback of him, and you see like his like mutilated butt, and you're just like, what the fuck are we doing here? Like, this isn't even funny. And Jonathan Majors is great in the movie. Like, I have nothing against Jonathan Majors in the film as Kang. I thought he did a stellar job at portraying Kang. But once again, think of it like in pro wrestling terms. If you bring in this monster character who's like 8 feet tall, like Giant Gonzalez is a wrestler, but then you have him go out and lose to only wrestling people are going to get this. You have Giant Gonzalez come out and be this dominant force, and he fucking loses one-on-one to Spike Dudley. What's that do? It makes the Giant Gonzalez not a threat. Because if Spike fucking Dudley can beat the Giant Gonzalez, what's going to stop The Rock, Stone Cold, Undertaker from beating Giant Gonzalez with no problem? And that was the main problem of this film. As great as Jonathan Majors was as Kang, his threat level has been completely neutered.
Well, I think that a lot of that is a victim of their own marketing and hype, because clearly Kang is like, okay, this version of Kang did not turn out to be much of a threat, but there are many more of them. People don't know there's all these different ones out there, and who knows what different personalities and abilities and things they have.
Awful CGI arena of Kangs.
Yeah, CGI arena of Kang. So, and the whole thing with the future movie being called Kang Dynasty, clearly it's going to be a much bigger scale and things like that. So maybe this Kang is not representative of what the full Kang threat is. But when they hyped it up as being this Avengers level movie, and all the marketing, all the interviews with Paul Rudd and Peyton Reed, and all of them said that we wanted to make an Ant-Man that was Avengers level. It's like, no, it wasn't.
Not even by a long shot. Yeah, that movie just.
All right. My number 2. Okay, let's talk some more about Fool's Paradise. You got It's Always Sunny in Philadelphia. Hilarious show.
Yeah.
Possibly the funniest person on it, Charlie Day. Charlie Day decides he wants to direct a movie. He's going to write this movie itself. He's going to bring together a cast that includes himself, Glenn Howerton, and his wife, Mary Elizabeth Ellis, the waitress from It's Always Sunny. Ken Jeong, Kate Beckinsale, Adrian Brody, Jason Sudeikis, Ray Liotta, Jason Bateman, Edie Falco. The list goes on and on. You have a ton of funny people in this movie. Yeah, John Malkovich in this movie, for God's sake. And I'm like, you know what? He wrote it. He obviously knows comedy because he's one of the main writers, obviously, of the show. And it's just completely lacking in any laughs whatsoever. I literally sat through this movie face palming most of the time because I'm like, how can this be this bad? Just in terms of, we're in the disappointing section. Just in terms of disappointment, it's like, did I have way too high expectations as being the greatest comedy of the year? No, but I expected it to be funny, and it was just never in my life did I expect to be this completely laughless. And I honestly contemplated walking out of this movie 3 times. I was doing time checks regularly, and a couple times I'm like, should I just cut my losses and leave now and have wasted less time of my life? And it was an awful movie, and just it's not funny at all. And Sean will eventually watch it, and he will agree with me.
We'll see.
Yeah.
Was so excited to see this movie because, like you, I love Charlie Day. I love It's Always Sunny in Philadelphia. And I watched that trailer, that actual trailer, and I was like, oh, so this is like Charlie Day almost kind of doing a chaplain.
He is, yeah, he goes to because he plays 2 roles, and the one he plays for most of the movie doesn't speak at all, and so he's basically trying to do like a chaplain Buster Keaton kind of thing. The problem is, and very much it's clearly influenced by that. He's trying to make that kind of character, but it just makes him like overreact and actually badly act at many points. It doesn't work.
Yeah, I mean, I was with that premise and the cast, I was actually genuinely excited about this, and I was so bummed when you're like, dude, that movie was one of the worst films of the year. I was like, no, I want Charlie to do well.
Yeah. Even someplace like Letterboxd, where people tend to on these movie sites be extra generous, it's got an average score of 2.4 out of 5. IMDb's got a 4.7 average score. Yeah.
Like I will eventually watch this, just out of respect for Charlie Day. But yeah, my expectations are going to be super, super low, and
maybe that will help you enjoy it more. Maybe who knows?
I was gonna say it might help me enjoy it. I'm gonna watch and be like, Brian, it wasn't that bad. I hope that's the case. I hope I can tell Brian, like, Brian, Fool's Paradise was not that bad, man. You need to chill. But part of me also feels like Brian's going to be completely on point, which is going to be because there's one person in this film that I can't stand their comedic talents. And it's because of that, and knowing that they're a big fixture in the film already to me is like a strike against him. And that's Ken Jeong. I don't find him funny. I find him just ear grating, like his performances and the way he talks and stuff. And knowing
honestly,
that
he's kind of the main character of the movie.
That's what I heard. That's
tries to make you like feel sorry for him and root for him, and it's like, no.
Yeah, I kind of heard that. I was like, oh, that's not the movie I want to watch. Yeah. So yeah, that right there kind of makes me go, yeah. But I'll check it out at some point. But yeah. Sorry guys, it's like 3.
Got a ways to go here, Sean.
Yeah, I know. We still got ways to go. I got to power through.
Down to your number 1. I think we have the same number 1.
No, my number 2.
Number two. Okay.
My number 2 is a movie that, once again, I wasn't necessarily excited for it because we've been waiting for this movie to come out for like 6 years, 7 years now. But they kept adding this one element that made us surprised about it, and then made us excited for it because we hadn't seen this person come back in 30 years, and we wanted to see this person come back and play this role. And then people got to see this movie early, and people got to say it's the greatest comic book movie of all time, and it's amazing. And then we go to watch it, and we're like, this movie's like just like every other fucking DC film, and that's The Flash. It's not a bad movie. It's not. I gave it a decent review. We both gave it decent reviews. Ezra Miller, as much as we don't want to talk about them because they're a garbage person in real life, their performance in this was incredibly well done. It's one of the better performances of the year in terms of a role like that. Michael Keaton, is really the main reason why most of us came to see this movie, is because we wanted to see Michael Keaton's Batman again. And that's the thing. Back in the day, and then we've had this conversation on the show when we did the Batman universe show, where we're like, who is the best Bruce Wayne and who is the best Batman? And we got to Michael Keaton. I go, he's probably the best Bruce Wayne, but he's probably one of the worst Batmans. And then this movie decided to go, let's flip that. Let's make his Batman great and his Bruce Wayne meh. And that's what they did with this. Is like, come on, you fucked with the one part of Michael Keaton that was great in this, but you made the worst part about him better. And there's just unnecessary subplots in this movie. The fucking horrid CG special effects in this film and multiple placements of this movie that looked like PlayStation 2 era kind of graphics. There's subplots and misleads that just go nowhere. There's misutilizations of characters such as Supergirl and wow, blank on the love interest's name.
Oh, his love interest?
Yes.
It's Kirstie Clemens. I don't remember the character's name, honestly.
Yeah, I'm blanking on her name all of a sudden. I had it and I lost it once we started talking about it. But yeah, it's just, you don't utilize her to her potential. And like the whole twist at the end, Brian likes the twist. I liked it up to a point, but it really ate at me, and I couldn't let it go for some reason. And Brian kept telling me that I was blowing it way out of proportion. I don't think I am. I just think there was a way they could have done that and done it well, and I feel like they only half did it. I also didn't like that they were like, at the end of the day, the Flash learned something. No, he fucking didn't. He just tried to do it a different way. And that way still backfired. He never really learned. He just thought he could be clever and outsmart the system. And it didn't work. At the end of the day, the Flash is, for DC movies, it's near the upper tier, but it's still just kind of middle of the road comic book movie at best. Knowing what your number one movie is going to be, I know you didn't, have this. Is this even remotely talkable for you?
For Flash?
Yeah, was it in your top 10 best or something?
Yep.
Okay, I guess you're gonna praise this movie later then. Yikes, that makes me worried about Brian's top 10 in general.
Oh, you should.
So I guess that means our number one's the same thing?
It is, absolutely.
Go ahead, Brian. This is your movie.
I've already discussed it. I actually don't have a whole lot more to say. I haven't already said, but this is Quasi. Yes?
Oh, we do not have the same one then.
You don't have Quasi and you're disappointed?
Quasi was my 5. And then you said, I'm not going to talk about it because I'm going to talk about it later.
Oh, yeah, okay. Oh, sorry. I've been deleting my stuff as I went through, so I didn't realize that was your 5. I've already talked about it.
We were definitely, no, my one is totally different.
But number one, just to reiterate, it's Super Troopers, a lot of funny guys, Adrian Palicki, a lot of big wasted cast, and we never could have imagined they would have made something just so laughless. Otherwise, we've already talked about this. So what is your number one?
My number one is a movie that we talked about a few days ago. I had been championing this fucking movie all year. All year. How many times, Brian, have we had this conversation? You go, Sean, I'm really, really worried about this movie. And my response was, don't worry, Brian. It's going to be great because of James Mangold's the director and blah, blah, blah's in this and blah, 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 Logan and all this stuff. It's going to be great. Don't worry. Don't worry. I have confidence. It's going to be good. Guess what? It wasn't. Indiana Jones and the Dial of Destiny. My most disappointing movie of the year so far. It's better than Crystal Skull. That's not a high bar. Even though I defended that movie, this movie, I guess, good for Brian because we said that it's either going to be in his best or disappointing as hell, and it wasn't on his disappointing. So I guess Brian liked it more than he thought. This movie just was, I championed this fucking film way too hard. If you had heard how much I've been championing this movie all year, you would think that I was the diehard Indiana Jones fan and not Brian. Yeah. Look, I mean, I could go into it again, but guys, just watch our
Just watch the
spoiler
new
review
review.
because we talked about all of this for pretty in depth last week. Um, Nothing makes me more angry or sad when literally you have people coming to you saying this movie's not going to be good. This movie's not going to be good. You're like, no, guys, believe you got this. Believe it is. It is. It is. And then you found out that you were wrong the entire fucking time, and that really, really makes you angry. Um, is this movie worse than most of the movies I've already mentioned in this disappointing list? No, but because I championed this movie and tried to keep Brian peppy for this movie for the whole fucking year, and it fucking failed me. It made me look like a jackass. So therefore, it's my most disappointing of the year so far. Is this in your best list?
It is.
Oh
This
my
this well, thing is, this was my number one most anticipated movie of the year, but it
I
just
know it was.
but it was not anticipation like I think it's going to be the best movie of the year. It was most anticipated like I really want to see what this movie is because it could be great, it could be bad, it could be anywhere in between. But I was anticipating this movie. I could not wait to watch it one way or the other. However, my expectations for what I thought the movie was going to be were actually fairly low, and so this did not disappoint me. And I will talk about it more later.
You're worrying me that two of these movies are in your top 10.
Oh, you're
Two
going to
of
hate
my
most
most
of my
disappointing.
top 10.
Good God. All right. Well, now we're going to our top 10 best films of the year. I have 3 honorable mentions. What do you got?
I have 4 actually.
All right. So you go ahead and take point.
Okay, so my first honorable mention I'll say is a movie that I went into with low expectations. I wouldn't say it was a surprise because by the time I saw a trailer, I actually was quite intrigued by it, and that is Knock at the Cabin. It's again, it wasn't going to make my top 10, but I thought I really liked what they did with the story. I thought Shyamalan managed to rein in most of his bad habits that he has in movies, and I especially was impressed by the performance of Dave Bautista. I thought he did a great job, and I thought it had a uh, great tone to it, the sense of menace, the sense of, that like, especially with Dave Bautista, who is this guy who doesn't want to be doing what he's doing, but he feels like he has to try, for the greater good kind of thing. And it was just a movie that kind of impressed me enough to be an honorable mention.
So something funny just happened. I'm not going to edit this. This is going to stay in. I'm going to chalk this up to being sick because I had food poisoning last night and
Okay.
being just dead tired because I worked all day.
Okay.
So remember when I told you I had 4 honorable mentions for disappointing?
Okay.
I only told you the bottom 2.
Oh, there you go.
And then we kept talking, and then I just jumped to my number 4, number 5, and I didn't tell you my 6 or 7. 7 was We Have a Ghost.
Okay.
So it wasn't my disappointing.
Okay.
It wasn't my disappointing because I looked up and I'm like, wait, why do I see We Have a Ghost? Oh shit, I skipped over 2.
And I'm guessing the other one is Knock at the Cabin.
And number 6 was Knock at the Cabin. So back to disappointing real quick. Well, We Have a Ghost, I kind of explained everything for that. Knock at the Cabin. This, like I said, M. Night Shyamalan, anyone who's watched this channel knows my opinion of M. Night Shyamalan. I think he's the ultimate con artist in terms of movies. He's one of the best trailer guys out there. He makes all of his movies look like fucking amazing blockbuster films, and then you go watch the films and he has like a track record of like 30% that the actual movie is good and not just a heaping pile of dog shit. Knock at the Cabin was not bad. I actually liked it for the most part. Dave Bautista's great. Dave Bautista's actually one of the better roles this year. He knocks this film out of the fucking park. That is not the problem with this movie. The problem with this movie is it's very much what it is, if that makes any sense. And it doesn't leave much to the imagination. And it just is. And you're in my channel movie, so you're kind of waiting for the twist. You're waiting for, okay, you're trying to overthink everything. You're trying to think, like, maybe it's this. And the whole twist of Knock at the Cabin is that there is no twist. Which is such a fucking, like, you son of a bitch.
Which I kind of liked because he didn't say there was gonna be a twist. Everyone just kind of put that on him.
True. But the problem is that because there is no twist, it also just kind of makes the rest of the movie like meh the whole way through. I don't it's not even the cast's fault. The casts are all except for fucking Ron. Ron is I feel like Ron's in a different movie from
I
everyone
thought it
else.
was fine. Well, I think it was just a matter of there's different people would react to be put in that situation differently, and he just reacted a certain way to it.
I think it's more his really shitty accent that
Maybe,
he's
yeah.
trying to pull off in it. It's like he's Boston, but he's trying to sound Southern. It doesn't work. Everyone else in the film, I think, actually put on great performance. The little girl's great. I'm blanking on the main guy.
Jonathan Groff?
Thank you, Jonathan Groff. I think he's great in the film. His husband is great in the film. The other horseman is what I'm going to call him. I think they're all really good. It's Rupert Grant that really just didn't work. It's not that anything's really actively just bad. It's just you expected more, and because there is no twist, it is what it is, and you just felt like there should have been something else, something more to it. It's not a bad movie. It's actually one of M. Night Shyamalan's best compared to the rest
Yeah.
of his.
And it's just an honorable mention for the half year. It's
No,
nowhere.
I'm not more or less attacking your honorable mention. I'm more or less like
Yeah.
I'm going through my disappointed part
Okay.
of it because I
Yeah.
left it out.
Yeah, for me, like I said, it's an honorable mention. It's probably sits at about 15, 16 for the year so far, and it'll drop farther and farther as the rest of this year's movies come out. But at the moment, it's an honorable mention for me.
I honestly can't. I honestly can't believe that I just like looked like skimmed right over this too. And yeah. Anyway, go with the rest of your. What was it 3 more? You have
3
more
more.
mentions?
My next honorable mention will be Dungeons and Dragons, Honor Among Thieves. Um, this is a movie that I wouldn't say surprised me because from the first trailers, it always looked like it was going to be fun. It didn't quite live up to everything I hoped it would be. I mean, it's got some pacing issues to it, and some things about it I didn't enjoy as much. But for the most part, it turned out to be a good, lighthearted, fun movie. Definitely far better than any Dungeons and Dragons movie we've had so far. Chris Pine and his charisma go a long way to that. I think he's one of the guys who can really ride that line of comedy real well when he does comedy movies, especially when it has to do the comedy action kind of thing. Everything from even from Star Trek movies into This Means War and this, it's all kind of the same thing where it can be a serious story for the most part, but he definitely kind of has that charm and fun to him. The rest of the cast obviously is great. Again, wasn't great, wasn't one of the best of the year, but it was worth an honorable mention.
Yeah, this didn't make my honorable mentions or even best of the films. I think it's like maybe like 1 to 3 spots below it. I didn't hate the film. I had some issues with its transition shots. I had some issues with how it was shot. There's this weird sweeping motion they're making on some of the shots that I just really found aggravating and annoying while shooting it. There's certain character choices and some character performances that I felt that were either underutilized or not used to their fullest potential. Chris Pine's great in this film. So is Michelle Rodriguez. Hugh Grant probably could use a couple more scenes. The action I thought was fine. I felt like when they were really doing actual Dungeons and Dragons shit, this movie's incredibly clever. There's a few times in the movie where I was watching, I was going, good job. Like that is a smart, really well done way of doing that I never expected it. And I bravo for you guys thinking about that. But I feel like the middle kind of drags on a little bit.
I'll agree with that. Honestly, the whole daughter storyline, I was kind of like,
yeah, it's and then also the cameo, while shocking, but the cameo of Bradley Cooper was just like
dumb and pointless.
you threw him in there for shock factor, but then you did nothing with
And
him.
it wasn't even good. Yeah.
Like if you're gonna bring someone in like that, at least utilize them to do something fun. And it just wasn't. There was no need for him to be in it. And I still say this, as much as I love Chris Pine, but because this is written and directed by the guys who did Game Night, which we love. Chris Pine is basically playing Jason Bateman in this movie. You could easily swap Chris Pine with Jason Bateman. It's the same fucking role. Nothing against Chris Pine, but it's just his performance and his comedic timing and his comedic approach to this film is Jason Bateman to a fucking T. I actually would have loved to have seen what Jason Bateman had done with this. Like I said, nothing against Chris Pratt. I love him in this movie. It's just, it was solid. And compared to previous Dungeons and Dragons, yes, this is leaps and bounds better in every way imaginable. And if they make a sequel to this, I'm down to see what more they do with this. I actually am. It's just, it was fine. I liked it for what it was, but wasn't good enough to hit my best of the year.
I'll give my last two honorable mention just because I think we'll be talking about them more later, if I'm not mistaken. And those are Extraction 2 and Creed 3.
Yeah, we're definitely talking about those more later.
All right, we'll talk about those later.
All right, my 3 honorable mentions. I don't think we're going to be talking about them because one you have not, there are 2 of them you have not seen, and one of them I liked more than you, so I know it's not on your list. Or at least I'd be shocked if it was on your list because I know I liked it more than you. My first honorable mention goes to a horror film that is brutal as shit. And I mean that in the best way possible. Because there's horror films that are brutal, that are just like trying to just be sickening. And then there are ones that take the brutality and it works with the plot of the film. And that's what happens here. And that is Evil Dead Rise. I liked the change of setting. I liked the kind of the apartment complex kind of aesthetic with it. I love the family dynamic of this instead of just being like, the 4 or 5 teenagers in a cabin in the woods kind of deal. I liked the family aspect because you really didn't know what the fuck was going to happen. The apartment complex allowed for extra fodder for the Deadite in the movie. There were different choices that they made so that way, because definitely this is much more like 2013's Evil Dead. It's serious, it's not comedic, which could we have had a few more funny spots in this movie? Sure, but the brutality and the horror elements of the movie was through the roof in the best way possible. When it got the horror right, it worked at the top tier level. There's different things that they added to this element that I'm trying not to say for spoiler purposes, especially in the third act, that I wasn't prepared for. And at first I was like, but then I was like, actually, that was pretty cool. And that was pretty damn awesome the way they did that. Reasons why it's not higher is that the performances of the actors in this film when it came to showing pain really pissed me off. I'm sorry,
Sean could not let this go.
How could you? How could you? This one person literally gets stabbed through their fucking hand, and they don't have any reaction to it. And then another one gets stabbed like through their fucking bicep, no reaction. But then they get puked on, and they're screaming bloody murder. No, come on. This is a horror movie. You have to scream. You have to show pain. And they weren't showing any of that. Oh my God, that was annoying. And then the young actress, she kept doing the cutesy voice off and on throughout the film. You can't do the "What's wrong, brother?" voice, and then next line or next scene, she's talking like a normal fucking kid. And then goes back to the no, don't do that shit. I fucking hate that. It's a cliche trope to try to make a kid extra cutie and like sympathetic, and it's just I fucking hate it. But also the prologue, the prologue. What the fuck was the point of the prologue? That was
just to be a fake out that you didn't realize it was actually.
But you hated that, so don't defend it. All of a sudden, you hated that.
No, I'm saying that was their thinking.
You hated that beginning.
I honestly,
I liked it.
I meant to put this as an honorable mention for mine. I have not seen it since the first time I saw it in theaters. I need to rewatch it.
Yeah, I need to rewatch it again too because I haven't seen it since theaters either. But like, I really liked it for what it did about 70% of the time. But yeah, no, it's still incredibly solid. It's not like in the top like 3 of the franchise. But if this is the route they're gonna go, I'm down to see where they go with it further. So that was my number 13. My number 12, I talked about in surprising, and I know Brian's not gonna talk about this because he hasn't seen it, and that's the Super Mario Brothers movie. Like I said, I hate Illumination with almost every fiber of my being. I don't like
Illumination.
Illumination. I don't like the fucking Minions at all. I don't like Despicable Me. Secret Life of Pets is bland but fine, I guess, but I don't think it's that great. So when I saw the Super Mario Brothers movie, the movie was going to go to Illumination, I was like, ah, man, I don't. Couldn't DreamWorks or Pixar or Disney take this? No, we had to get the fucking Minions crew on this. But they knocked this thing out of the park. And granted, I love people like, oh, the plot's too simplistic and stuff like that. It's fucking Super Mario Brothers. Have you ever played the game? 99% of you have ever touched a video game controller can say yes to that. This doesn't need to be fucking Schindler's List. It's a fucking kids movie based on a game that we all played when we were kids to now. It's a general plot, and they just needed to make it work. And you know what? It fucking did. Now, when they do sequels, because they're going to fucking do sequels, they can delve deeper into the plot. They can add more of the story. Chris Pratt, everyone was all worried about Chris Pratt because, oh, he's going to do it in a fucking Italian accent. He doesn't do it, and they explain why he doesn't do it, and it made sense. Charlie Day is Luigi, which, funny enough, they got pissed off that Chris Pratt wasn't going to do an Italian voice, but yet Charlie Day doesn't have an Italian voice, and no one fucking bats an eye about that. Not in the movie nearly as much, but when he was in it, he's great. The chemistry between Mario and Luigi is great, even though they're barely in the movie together. Anya Taylor-Joy as Princess Peach I thought was solid. Seth Rogen is like Jack Black as Kung Fu Panda. He was made to play Donkey Kong because he was great as Donkey Kong. He was funny. This movie visually looks fucking gorgeous. This is a beautifully well animated film. I was shocked because it was Illumination, of all people, that made this movie look so fucking good. The Easter eggs galore for Nintendo fans and gaming fans alike are all over the place, and when you catch them, it just makes you smile. It's not the nostalgia thing. It's more like, oh, I caught that. Did anyone else catch that? You didn't catch that? Oh, I caught it. You don't know Nintendo like I do. It's fun. The story itself is simplistic, but I enjoyed it. Keegan-Michael Key as Toad could have been utilized a little bit better. He's fun. To me, the one weak spot is Bowser, played by Jack Black, which is funny because everyone else is praising his performance. I'm sorry, Jack Black is Poe from Kung Fu Panda to me. Him doing Bowser just made him sound like he was just trying to do Jack Black. They gave him extra character developments, which to me hurts the Bowser character, but they just did it to give Jack Black more stuff to do. I understand why they did that, but you don't do it with a character like Bowser. But at the end of the day, Super Mario Brothers, I think, excels at everything that it was trying to do. I mean, look at the box office. It's going to be the number one box office movie of the year. I don't think anything's going to rival it. But I had so much fun with this movie. I just remember watching the movie and was just had a big smile on my face while watching the whole thing. But yeah, it's that's my number 12 of the year. The reason why it's not higher is because of the simplistic plot and the Jack Black Bowser element of the film. It could have been better. It will be better. It will, because the sequels are going to take more chances. They're going to do more things. They're going to do bigger things with it. They just had to make this one movie work, and they succeeded. Brian's not going to have an opinion about it because he didn't watch the damn movie. But I know he's not going to like it nearly as much as me because he's not a huge Mario Brothers fan. And because he still keeps wanting to say Bob Hoskin and John Leguizamo. My number 11 is a movie that I have been begging and pleading Brian to see, but Brian doesn't want to watch it because Brian doesn't want to feel emotions when watching movies. He just wants to laugh and enjoy action. He doesn't want to cry. He doesn't want to, feel sadness, and he will feel that with this movie. This technically, if I'm going by rating score, this movie's actually in my top 5. But I have a general rule: documentaries don't belong in my top 10 because they're not movies per se. They're
narrative films. Yes,
exactly. So my last honorable mention, even though it's definitely a top 5 film of the year, is still a Michael J. Fox movie. It's on Apple Plus. This movie, or this documentary, is so just it's amazing. It really, really is. Michael J. Fox, the struggles and the stuff that he's had to go through since his Parkinson's is heartbreaking to watch. The very, very first 5 minutes, you're watching him try to be Michael J. Fox, and he's failing. He can't walk normally. There's this one moment, and this is in the first 5 minutes, so I'm spoiling it, but I'm not spoiling it. He has to have a guy walk with him as almost like a barrier to keep him from not, because he's Michael J. Fox. He's quick. He's on the go. He can't move like that anymore. So he literally has to have a guy walk around with him at all times to basically keep him from trying to go too fast, because his legs can't do that anymore. And he has to basically go, balance yourself, slow down, balance, don't slow down. Because Michael J. Fox he's still Michael J. Fox. He just wants to go. And he's leaving his apartment because he lives in they live in like one of those like New York apartment complexes that are like fucking mansion houses, but it's an apartment. And he's walking down the street, and this guy's standing with him, and this lady comes by. She's like, "Are you Michael J. Fox?" He turns around and goes, "Hey, yeah," and he fucking plants because his legs don't work like that, and his shoes fly off and everything, and it's shot from down the street, and she's like, "Oh my God, are you okay?" And it almost makes you want to cry because Michael J. Fox. She's like, "Well, it was nice meeting you," and he goes, "It was nice meeting you. I went head over heels for you," and it was just like. I want to cry. It's like, even in his like, he's embarrassed. He literally just stumbled and fucking ate it, which at this point he's probably done 100 times already. And this woman doesn't know how to react. And he still made a joke and made her smile. And that's Michael J. Fox. And through this whole documentary, he's going through how he became from a kid to becoming a star, to his alcohol abuse, to meeting his wife, and how he was a huge dick to her, and how they didn't like each other when they first, started working together. And then to him figuring out how he first realized he may have had, something wrong with him, to dealing with it, to living with it, and trying to fight for it and all this stuff. It's such a powerful, inspirational story about someone who had at any moment should just shut down and give up. And he won't, because he is afraid of letting people down, because he knows how important he is to the masses, that he has to put on this performance. He has to put on this glowing persona as Michael J. Fox, because that's what people know him as. That's what people see him as, that he can't allow himself to be sad. He can't allow himself to feel sorry for himself, because the people deserve to see him smiling and laughing. It's such a funny yet heartbreaking documentary, and it is beautiful. And Brian doesn't want to watch it. And I get it, because Brian
may watch it eventually. Who knows?
He loves Michael J. Fox, and I get that because of Back to the Future. But it is such a heartbreaking but amazing journey. It's great. Like I said, it's one of my best films of the year. But like I said, it's a documentary, so I don't put it in my top 10. But it is utterly fantastic. Go ahead with your number 10.
My number 10. Okay, so there's about maybe 3 movies in my top 10 that are going to overlap with Sean. This ain't one of them. Number 10.
I'm so fucking worried now with your top 10.
You should be. And let's start with number 10. Number 10, Roman numeral X, like Fast X. Yeah. Here we go. So,
oh my God,
this is not going to be there in the end of the year. Honestly, I first watched this movie and I was like, this is, I had a lot of problems with this movie. I still have problems with this movie, but I watched it a second time, and some of the things didn't bother me so much. And there's plenty to not like about this movie, but there were things I really did like about it, whether it be new cast members, whether it be some of the action sequences, things like that. And it just, as a kind of mindless entertainment kind of movie, I did enjoy it. So should it be in my top 10? Probably not. Will it be in my top 10? It already isn't. I can tell you, I've already seen a movie in July that's knocked it off the list at this point.
I already know what that movie is.
Yeah. And so it's not going to be there. But for now, it's there.
The one reason that this movie should be in a top 10 is the one thing you didn't like the last time we talked about Fast X,
And there are definitely things I still don't like about it.
which is Jason Momoa. Jason Momoa is the best thing about
I
this
liked him
movie.
better the second time around. He actually helped me move it up.
Oh, good, because he is fucking great. Because I'm already having like an internal dilemma, knowing that when we go over our awards at the end of the year, that when we get the best villain, I'm gonna bring him up, and I'm like, oh my god, how am I gonna explain to Brian that I think Jason Momoa should be nominated for best villain? Because Brian didn't like his performance. Because I still think he is one of the best performances, not in terms of acting, but one of the most enjoyable performances of 2023 so far. Knowing that you like him better now works for me. It makes me happier. But that is literally the one good thing about Fast X. He infinitely makes every scene he's in better. Not to say that the whole movie is shit, because it's not. Because like I said, this movie is definitely a step up from F9, which was one of the worst of the franchise. But it's still just utterly fucking ridiculous. The way it ends pisses me off, which granted, there's other movies that we're going to be talking about that end the exact same way that we were okay with. But it's all about how the execution of it is handled. And this one failed in its execution of how to end this movie. But yeah, it's oh god, it hurts my heart knowing that you have this in your top 10.
But we're just getting started. What's your number 10?
My number 10 is a movie that I talked about earlier with surprising, and that was Scream 6.
We're talking about this one later.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. So we'll touch on this later when we get to yours. What's your 9?
My number 9, Shazam! Fury of the Gods. This is, I think, has been unfairly trashed on it, and it's one of those ones. It's kind of the one this year that I don't know why. It's as good as, if not better than the first Shazam. I think
It's
I
better.
like
It's better than the first one.
I like the whole family dynamic and the atmosphere and the relationships between everybody, whether it be between the parents and the kids or between the kids themselves. I do wish we had seen more of them at the kid age for most of them. But it's a movie that I think is if you look at it as what it is, which is basically a family superhero movie. I enjoyed it. I think that it had some cool looking design to it, especially I like the dragon and some of the monsters and things they did. I think it was creative. I think it was definitely had plenty of humor to it that I really enjoyed. A lot of people criticized saying Zachary Levi was acting goofier than he was in the first one, but I think he acts like a teenager who now has power and is kind of, just living it up and having fun. I like the new additions to it. I especially liked, I just blanked out on her name from West Side Story.
Rachel Ziegler.
Thank you. I liked her in it. I actually wish we had seen more of her relationship with,
Freddie.
not Billy. What's
Freddie.
that? Thank you, Freddie. Oh my gosh, brain farts. But it's just a movie. I think it is as good as, if not better than the first one, and it was fun. And I don't understand why people are trashing this movie.
I love Zachary Levi. I know he's not high on people's lists right now because of I can't remember if it's political shit or not. I don't follow that crap. So when he got announced as Shazam, I was super excited for it. The first Shazam film I felt was just for what it was.
I agree.
And as much as I was excited to see him come back, it was more or less once again the same issue with Flash. Does it matter at the end of the day because the DC's being rebooted? Why should I give a shit about these characters if everything's going to be redone? I don't think he's acting goofier than the first one. I think he's actually acting less goofier in this one than this, but he still doesn't act like the younger version of himself. He acts more like Freddy when he's in Shazam mode than he does like Billy in his regular age. I agree. The kids should have gotten more screen time. Fucking Billy Angel, was it Angel Asher or Asher Angel? The kid who plays Billy.
Asher.
He only is in 9 minutes of this film. Fucking 9 minutes. And he's actually a really good actor. As much as I love Zachary Levi, you had to have more of a well-balanced thing for him. Same thing with the other kids, but definitely for him. I agree. The special effects of the dragon and the creatures look great. but then they didn't outside of the dragon, they really didn't utilize the other creatures well. They kind of were like, "Oh, we only had this much budget. Let's fast forward through this shit." It's like, no, this is when we just got interesting, and you took it way too fast. Let's not fucking forget the whole fucking Skittles thing. Yeah,
I'm torn in the skill because at one time, like, I like it and I hate it at the same time.
Yeah, it's a love hate because it's like part of the joke works, and then the other part of it is like, I don't hate Shazam. It's a fine film. It's right in the middle of the road for me. It's one of those things where it had the potential to do more because it showed us the potential of what it could do. But then when it had the chance to show that, they sped through it. I also didn't like the whole dynamic of like the Shazam family is considered like not terrorists, but they were more like
like every time they saved the city, it was like it was their fault.
Yeah, like I hated that dynamic. I hated how
that
they
happens
did
in a
that.
lot of superhero movies. I've never understood that whole.
Yeah, it's just like I didn't like that dynamic whatsoever.
I will say I did not like the ending, and especially the
cameo.
The cameo, which the marketing spoiled, which will definitely not be in our best cameos of the year.
No. So it's just one of those. It was uneven. It's better than the first one. I liked a lot of it. But there was things that I felt that they could have done better. They could have shot it better. You also had the backlash at the end, after the movie was Zachary Levi and The Rock, and that's why the post-credit scene was kind of weird for some weird reason. But it's fine, but it could have been better. My number 9, once again, talked about earlier with most surprising, and that's Extraction 2. We talking about that one later or not?
Nope, that was my honorable mentions.
Okay. Extraction 2, like I said, on top of the shit I already said before, a 20-minute oneer that's basically almost played out like a video game and some of the best video game action we've ever seen. This movie is fucking amazing. Chris Hemsworth has proven that because that's the other thing with Chris Hemsworth, he's great as Thor, but I haven't really loved him in anything else he's done. He's fine in other things, or he's like, that was not really a good performance from him. He has found his next new character as Tyler. I really like the dynamic with him and sorry. Like I said, we're in 4 a.m. mode right now. And we just got into the top 10. I'm blanking on the girl's name.
Nick.
I love their dynamic. I love her performance in this film as well. We get the addition of Idris Elba, which is basically just starting a franchise with his character. He's basically there to set up sequels.
He's basically coming in as Nick Fury. Yeah,
he basically is. He's basically Nick Fury, which I'm fucking fine with that as well. Like I said, I love the way this movie is shot is brilliant. And Brian, you talked about this, not on this episode, but in different things, is that having a stuntman and basically become the director, they shoot movies differently because they know how to get the shots that they've worked their ass off to get. They know how to move the camera in a way that normal directors aren't going to pay attention to. Why? Because they've never fucking had to be in scenes like this. And he knows that if I'm doing this kind of move or I'm taking this kind of thing, you're doing a wide shot, but if you bring it in and you do it at an angle, it's going to look 10 times better. And having someone who's done it and been in it knows that. And watching the way he has the cameraman do these shots, which I think doesn't he do the camera work on some of these things? I thought he did that with the one.
I know for at least some of it he did it himself. Yeah.
Yeah. So having someone at the helm saying, "Just give me the fucking camera. I am going in to take this shot." Some of these shots are just breathtaking, and not even just the one, but even the attack on the building, like the gym fight. Just the brutality of some of the shots that we can still go, oh, like and stuff like that. I love this movie. This movie is definitely an action film, much unlike the first one where it's like I watched it once and it's like I might go back and just watch like the oneer, but I won't watch the rest of the movie. I will go back and I will rewatch this whole fucking film. I told Brian this when we both got done watching this, is that I thought best action sequence and best fight was a runaway for John Wick Chapter 4, and then Extraction 2 said, "Hold my beer." You have a fucking challenger, and it's going to be very interesting for us to decide the winner in those two categories because of this film. I love this movie. I thought this movie was great.
Yeah, no, the first one, like you talked about earlier, is like it's got great action to it, but it's like completely forgettable story and characters and things like that. And this one, to me, was honestly very much the same, but the action was amped up to such a level that it was super exciting. And like you said, not just the one, which is super impressive. Honestly, go on Netflix's YouTube channel and watch. They have like making of like some segments, including that one. Where it's amazing how they did some of this stuff. But the action is so well done and it's exciting. But it's also a little bit of the downside of the movie is that the action is so relentless and constant through the entire movie that by the time I hit about, I don't know, 2/3 of the way through the movie, I was almost kind of numb to it. I'm kind of like, okay, this is getting a little monotonous, a little repetitive. When if I'd watch any one of those segments by itself, I'd be like, this is an awesome action scene. So it's like it almost just kind of numbs you to it after a while. That's not to say anything in it was bad. I enjoyed the movie very much. I enjoyed the action sequences, but like I said, as far as the story in that, I was not blown away by it. So that's the only thing kept it from being in my top 10.
I was not blown away by the story, but compared to the first film, it exceeded it.
Definitely.
It built on it, built it better, so therefore it works for me. But yeah, what was your number 9?
My number 9 was Shazam. My
Okay.
number 8 is Transformers: Rise of the Beasts.
Which I already said my piece for the most part.
Yeah, so I mean, this is a movie that I quite enjoyed. This movie. It's not everything I would have hoped it to be. The thing for me is honestly, this was even higher if the Maximals weren't in it. I am not a Beast Wars guy. I don't care about the. I thought they were the least interesting, and I if they had not been in this movie, it would have been a better movie for me. I want to see a Transformers movie with the current design, the new like Bumblebee style design that they're using for these Transformers, but be the Transformers, essentially the Generation 1 kind of stuff, and leave out the Beast Wars, all that stuff. I don't care about any of that stuff. But that's me, because that's not what I grew up on. I also think if they recast the female lead in this, it would be a good amount better, because she was not very good. But I liked Anthony Ramos, all the Transformers, especially Pete Davidson. I thought he did a good job. And I thought it was a good balance of humor. There it is. Gotta do it once a show. I thought it was a good balance of humor and action. I think they got it just right. And so it was enough to make number 7. Or my number 8 on my list, sorry.
My number 8, I already talked about during Surprising, but I didn't really talk about it because I said I'd talk about it here, and that is The Boogeyman. Like I said, the trailer didn't really do much to excite me. It was just kind of like, well, I'll probably not check this out. But like I said, I went and saw it with my girlfriend. She wanted to see a horror movie. I was like, all right, screw it, let's go watch this. And I was blown away at just what this movie did. The cast. I got to pull them up real quick here. Chris Messina, who I didn't really pay attention to as an actor until Air. He's one of my, in terms of what he did in Air, because it's just a small scene, but he was great in that. He's good in this film as the father who's basically going through, guilt from losing his wife. But the real two that really sell this movie is Sophie Thatcher from Yellow Jackets as Sadie, who's the daughter, the oldest daughter, and of course Vivian Lara Blair, who many people will know as young Princess Leia from the Obi-Wan series. These two are so amazing in this movie. They sell horror, they sell guilt, because that's the great thing about this movie is like, yes, this movie is about the boogeyman hunting them, but they add this extra layer of storyline to this. That it's not just a creature who wants to scare kids who's hiding in the closet or under their bed. This is a creature that attacks the hurt, the weak, the guilt from, and the mournful of someone who's lost somebody. And it basically eats away at them almost like a parasite. It affects the household. It affects everyone in the house to a point. And they added that extra element. And they also had this element that this is something that, like, much like guilt, there might be days where you feel like it's um wow, I just went blank. Like there's days where you feel like it's not hitting you hard or not bothering you anymore, and then one day it hits you like a ton of bricks. Much like the boogeyman is. He's always going to be around because you let him in the door. The visuals of the film, I thought the boogeyman looked a lot like the Cloverfield monster to a point, a little bit, but I was okay with that because I love the Cloverfield monster's design. I think the scares worked really well. That whole like the moon ball, if that doesn't become a huge selling thing this year, I'll be shocked because I saw that and I was like, that would be really cool to have. I'd love to have that moon ball. But the way they shot the horror in this movie, I thought was incredibly well done. I like that the characters, for the most part, were incredibly smart. There were certain parts as I was watching the movie, I was like, if this was me, I'd do this. And then within 2 minutes, that character is doing that, which is something you don't get in horror films. Usually they're doing the exact opposite of intelligence. And these movies did that. I also like
Well,
this
we just
movie.
talked recently how much we like intelligent protagonists.
Exactly. And this movie was, and this was the kid. This was the little kid that was doing that. There's so many times in this movie, this little kid's like, holy crap, good for you. There's the video game TV screen scene. And then there's at the end with the Christmas lights. So I was like, this girl is way smarter than than any other horror movie would ever write a kid, except for maybe like A Quiet Place.
Well, she's Princess Leia. Come on.
Well, exactly. That's right. Princess Leia would know better. Um, but I also like this movie was the epitome of fuck them kids because it is no problem fucking kids up. There's one scene where the boogeyman just is like basically treating this kid like the equivalent of like when you would play wrestling when you're a kid with a dummy, you just fucking fling the dummy around and shit. And you want to laugh, but you're also like, oh my god, I can't believe he actually did that. Uh, but like on top of the horror, the I'm blanking on the word. I keep saying guilt for loss of somebody.
Grief?
Grief, thank you. I was like, I kept saying guilt because like that's not the word, it's grief. Uh the way they shot grief in this movie between the three leads, Messina, Thatcher, and Blair, it adds that extra layer to the film. Like, yes, it's a horror movie and it's a monster, but this movie is also about the loss of a mother and a wife, and the way they shot that, and how like the father character, because he doesn't really get brought into the horror aspect of it until very very late, but it's way how he can't talk to his daughters about this, he can't talk to professional help about it, he just kind of is going through the motions, and I think Messina shoots that very very well. I also love that in a normal movie like this where you have like the kids can see the monster and the parents can't, you get that big blow up scene where the parents don't believe him and the parents are like, oh my god, just stop. You always get that overacted scene. This movie doesn't do that. This movie does have a moment where they could have done that, and even then, the dialogue in that scene actually makes sense, and it's acted in a way that's like, you know what, he's got a point, and just the way he delivers the lines of this, I love that. But then the very next scene, he's officially like, all right, I'm on board. I'm not gonna bullshit. Like, okay, something's going on. I loved the execution of this horror film. I loved that they like I said earlier, you have a movie that is very much like something we've seen 1,000 times before. What are you going to do differently that's going to make this movie unique and stand out compared to the 15 other films we've seen before? And I feel like they excelled at doing those things better than I've seen the last 15 times we've seen the same kind of subplot. Yes, there's certain characters that you really wish would have died because they're fucking annoying bitches. But as much as we want to see them die and get their comeuppance like we would in normal horror films, the way the rules have been set in this world by the boogeyman, they wouldn't interact with the boogeyman. Which I like that. Yes, as much as we wanted, like particularly one character to have a demise, it would have broken the rules of the game, and I respect them for not doing that. But I hate them at the same time because I really wanted that character to die. But yeah, I was completely shocked by how well this movie was done. I know you watched it, you liked it, but you don't love it as much as I do. But this didn't crack your top 10.
No, like I said, this is kind of like middle of my list. So
It hurts my soul that Fast X is rated higher than this for you. It really hurts my soul. What is your number 7?
my number 7 is Renfield. This is a movie I know I enjoyed more than Sean did. This is just a movie that I thought was just a ton of fun. Take Aquafina out of it.
Take that whole plot.
Yeah, there's a whole plot line with her, and honestly, she's been way more grating in other movies. She wasn't awful here.
It's not her. It was not her fault. It was the writing.
Yeah, she was fine in the writing. Her whole storyline, kind of like whatever.
Yeah.
But I mean, there was enough in it that I liked that it really made up for, and then some for the things I didn't like. Obviously, had Nicolas Cage getting hammered up as Dracula, which was the main appeal of this movie.
Yeah.
But I thought that Nicholas Hoult, I think, did a great job as Renfield. I thought that he played his role very well, whether it be the more timid comedic moments or the parts where he's like going off with his Dracula powers and stuff, and getting to handle a lot of the action, like a lot like he did with Beast in the X-Men movies. But then and one of the best things about this movie is Ben Schwartz. Is the best thing about most things he's in, honestly. He's a ton of fun, and it's no different here. He's great in this movie, and it was brutal. It was bloody. There was some creativity to the action and stuff like that. And it's just a movie that's like, it's kind of unlike anything else that's been out right now. This was a horror comedy to me done right. Whereas there was many other horror comedies this year which didn't work. This one was just fun. And when I'm going to the movies, most of the time, that's what I'm looking for is fun.
Yeah, Renfield, in terms of Nicholas Hoult and Nick Cage, I 1,000% agree with you. They are great in this movie. It is the execution of, and Ben Schwartz. Ben Schwartz is great in this movie as well. I love all three of them in this movie. It's the execution of other characters and other subplots that fail for me in this. I think that they should have focused more on the support group, because I think that group were great in this film. I think it added that extra layer of element to Nicholas Holt's Renfield character, and even Nick Cage to a point when we get to that point. It's the whole, like you said, Aquafina storyline, and it's not Aquafina's fault. It's literally this whole B plot of this film with this mafia group. Now, granted, that would take Ben Schwartz out of the movie. I don't want that to happen, but you could have Ben Schwartz be somebody else. But it's this whole like cop story, and the cops are like dirty, and there's a subplot with this mob and mafia and all this other shit that's just like, it's trying to be too busy, and it just needs to stay in this like bubble of what the movie is. And when it's in that bubble, it works great. But then it tries to expand it out to all this other shit, and you're just like, this is where the movie starts to fall apart. And because it can't be in this kind of this Dracula realm, and then also be a cop like procedural like mob drama kind of thing. But when it's funny, it's great. Nicolas Cage puts on a fantastic performance as Dracula. He's one of my favorite performances of the year because he's so just off the chain, which is like most Nick Cage performances, but he also like contains it really, really well as Dracula. The action is fun. The blood splatter or the lack of blood splatter on people is what also was a really annoying aesthetic. You can't run through a person and then be squeaky clean. This isn't a cartoon. But no, it's fine. It was a fine movie. I enjoyed it for what it was, but there's like, so the whole Aquafina subplot, it was just like, oh my God, I don't give a shit.
What'd you have at 7?
My number 7 is a movie that I also talked about a little bit earlier, and that was Tetris. Like I said, I went into it with lower expectations because I didn't know what movie I was going to get. Found out that this whole story kind of was all a part of the whole beginning of Tetris. Taron Egerton is great in this movie. He's over the top in a way of just this person who wants to be bigger. He wants to be better than what he is. He wants his status to be higher for him and his family. And he so badly feels that Tetris is that gateway. Tetris is that key to success, to the next level for him. The negotiation parts of this film, especially with the Russian like KGB people, is actually frustrating, but in a good way. It's a good frustration because you're watching all this shit happen. Is it Alexi, the guy who created it? Yeah, Alexi. His story element, I didn't know if I was gonna like that, but I actually really enjoyed his character as well. I enjoyed the chemistry and the relationship between him and Egerton in the film. The action parts at the end go a little, kind of off the rails, but it's still fun because you have, they add like video game like graphics to it at points. But like I said, the video gamer in me really cared about the creation of it and how it went from this guy who created this game just to play something when he's in the office to it going to Nintendo and then the Game Boy and then into what it was. And I was afraid that when I saw the trailer that it wasn't really going to be that. And it was both. And they actually worked and gelled perfectly well. And just when I thought Egerton was going to be playing a one-note kind of character, he had so much more layer of emotion and stakes throughout this film. This movie completely took me by surprise, and I love the way that it was shot overall. Now, I know this was on your surprising. Is this higher? Are you going to talk about this later?
Nope.
Okay. Oh, it's not even in your top 10?
No, I enjoyed it, but it wasn't a top 10 movie.
Oh my God. You are shocking me right now. What's your number 6?
My number 6, you've already talked about today. Number 6 is The Flash. There are things in this movie that don't work. The CG being one of them, especially in the whole time bowl, whatever they called it. The chrono, whatever it is.
The chronosphere or chrome.
Yeah, there's that whole part of it. But I mean, for me, the good outweighed the bad in this movie. I liked the way that that Michael Keaton played Batman and Bruce Wayne. I like that. I think Supergirl. I really like Supergirl. I think they underutilized her. I would have liked to actually see more of her in this movie and more of kind of her story to it. But she was just a supporting role in this. Maybe they would have done more with her if they went on with this iteration, but that's not happening. Ezra Miller, personal life things aside, I thought they did a very good job. I like this version of the Flash. I believe the characters. I believe the interaction, especially with him and his mother. I love that personality, that relationship they had there. I thought the scenes there were very touching. I agree, like you said earlier, he does not learn his lesson at the end, and that's one thing I talked about. It's like he really just did the same thing again, and how won't things be different? So there's that. But as far as the action sequences were kind of cool. The opening thing with the babies, again, that was largely the biggest part of that was the CG. So, but it's like if you look past the 2000s level CG and look at it as a story and a character standpoint, like I said, for me, the good outweighed the bad. And as far as DCU movies, it's not like top 3, but it's definitely top half. There are plenty of worse DC movies for me. And you already talked about this one. So what's your 6?
Nothing about Keaton?
I said I really liked the way Keaton played Batman and Bruce Wayne.
Oh, okay. I thought you were going a little more into Keaton. I was like, wow, you really didn't say much about Keaton.
I'm not going into full reviews. This is just a recap show, basically.
Number 6 for me is one that was your honorable mention, which was Creed 3.
Which could go higher for me. I have not seen it since that first time, and I think it probably will climb back up if I see it again.
Yeah, I've loved each Creed movie. I said this back when Creed 2 came out in 2018, 2019. Has it really been that long since Creed 3 or Creed 2, Creed 3?
Right, you talk, I'll look it up.
It was when Robin Hood came out, so I want to say it's 2018.
I think it was 19, 18. I don't know.
Yeah.
Creed 2 is 18. Yep.
Yeah. Wow. 5 years, really? Damn. But yeah, Michael B. Jordan's first directorial debut. I thought he actually did a stellar job. I didn't know we still needed to go on with the story, but I actually loved the story that we got with this. Jonathan Majors, once again, proves how amazing of an actor he is. His character of Dame or Damien, whatever you want to call him in the movie. I was a little worried when I saw the trailer about, okay, we've seen this story before. What's it going to do to be different? It's not necessarily different, but the performance of it is so damn strong from both Michael B. Jordan and Jonathan Majors that they sell this thing so fucking well. And then even is it Felicia Rashad who plays the mom? even her performance of this dynamic between those two is so well done. The fighting style in this is shot so well. I love the way the final fight is and how they had this kind of, a lot of people call it an anime kind of fight. I'm not going that way. I look at it as more of like the battle of their minds and the turmoil and the hurt and everything that they're running through their brains while fighting effectively their brother in a way in this film. And fighting their personal demons in the fight and stuff like that. I love the way they shot that. I love the way that Michael B. Jordan wasn't afraid to break the Rocky mold. Still did stuff that was Rocky, but wasn't afraid to go, hey, you know what? I want to try something different. I want to do something different, and then do it and have it work. The daughter element had potential. They could have probably not forgotten about that. I still do think that this movie still needed at least about probably 2 or 3, even 4 more scenes of Dame and Michael B. Jordan, or Dame and Creed, kind of like breaking up and kind of like seeking each other to get to the fight. They seem to just go from here to here and then bam, they're fighting. I feel like they needed a few more scenes to flesh out those characters. Because I felt like once we got to the point where they needed to fight, it fast forwarded straight to the fight. But what we got from this movie with performances, visuals, the actual choreography, the fights themselves, I love this. I love this trilogy, and I think it rivals, if not is better than the first 3 Rocky films together. If we're looking at trilogy to trilogy, I think Creed 3 is a stronger put together 3 film story than Rocky 1 through 3 is, personally. I love this. If they continue on with it, I'm interested to see what they do with it. Maybe make it more like in the future and he's training the daughter to be a boxer. I'm okay with that route if they want to do that, which effectively is going Creed to baby Creed all the way up. But yeah, I love this movie. I also have not seen it since the theater, but I really did enjoy it.
Yeah, I do think it'll probably rise back up the list for me. But I don't remember it all that well. I do remember I enjoyed the movie quite a bit. For the longest time, it was in my top 10. I especially love Jonathan Majors. I think he does a phenomenal job in this. And I did not like the way the last fight looked. I know it's very divisive. It seems to be like some people love it, some people don't. I'm on the don't side. It's like I like that he was trying to do something a little more creative, but it's like it didn't work for me, in my personal opinion. But yeah, it's a good movie.
What was your 5?
I'm not talking about this yet. It's Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3.
Yes, we are definitely going to be talking about that later. My number 5, we probably aren't going to be talking about yet, because if this is not higher for you, then what the fuck is your list? Which is
it the Batman?
No, it's the Batman. Yeah. My number 5 is John Wick Chapter 4.
Oh, it's higher.
Okay. Your number 4.
My number 4, you've talked about Scream 6. Again, this is a running theme with this entire show. These are movies that have their flaws, and this one definitely does. A lot of that being, like I said, the killer reveal. But the good seriously outweighed the bad for me. I think that the change in setting is exactly what this movie needed, to not just be a rehash of the same old thing again. I think is a big jump improvement over 5, which 5 was I thought a solid reboot, although it was again flawed. And there were things about it we didn't like. I think this one, I think the characters are better, the relationships are better. And what struck me the most is this is the most brutal Scream film. I mean, it's not just somebody's
absolutely.
Somebody's getting stabbed and dies. It's their suffering. The kills in this one are brutal, and that's what I really loved about it. But yeah, I mean, we already talked about this quite a bit earlier, but I thought this was a solid entry, and while it's not going the way that Sean and I would like to see it go, I'm still curious. I'm intrigued to see where it goes.
I feel like they're just doing it way.
Well, no, I think they're teasing it, but they'll never do it because the public
they don't have the balls
won't accept it. Yeah,
they definitely don't have the balls to pull off what we want them to pull off.
Yeah. So what do you got for?
Also, I love the unique new way they started the movie.
Yes.
Yeah. Because I was like, I kept saying, I was like, there's something I want to talk about, and then as you're talking about the brutality, I was like, oh yeah, the new start to the film. I love the new beginning of this film. My number 4, unless you have it higher, I can't remember if you already talked about it for best, but you talked about it for surprising, and that's Air.
No.
Wow. Okay. I'm so
I enjoyed the movie. It wasn't top 10 for me.
Oh my god. All right, so Air, kind of a little bit already on what I was talking about with this film. To take something as basic as talking about the creation of Nike Air Jordans. In theory, this should not be exciting. This should not be enjoyable to watch. But you have the writing and directing and the cast work through this movie. Ben Affleck directing it, and then of course just having that character of the I'm blanking on the character's name, the guy who runs the Nike apparel stuff. Uh, visually, he looks great in this movie with like the Jerry curl and all that stuff. Matt Damon proves why he's such a fantastic actor, because every time he goes into one of his monologues, you believe everything that this character is going through. You believe the passion and the love he has for basketball in this film. And you believe that for every character. Chris Tucker has a great moment in this film where he talks about the power and love of this. Jason Bateman's got a great scene in this movie as well where he talks about his daughters. There's so many just moments in this movie where the acting just exceeds to a top tier level. You get to this point in the film, like you already know the outcome. You know Jordan's gonna sign with them because fucking Air Jordans, but they still manage to leave you like on the edge of your seat on what the hell is gonna happen, because we know what's gonna happen, but how does it happen? I mentioned Chris Messina earlier. He basically is playing his best like Ari Gold from Entourage in this, and he is hilarious. Him and Matt Damon's back and forth is awesome. There's a big blow up in the middle of the film, and I was just cracking up the whole way through that. Viola Davis, what needs to be said about her? She's one of the best actresses in the world today. She doesn't get as much to do, but when she is utilized to her fullest potential. There's an actor I'm forgetting in this, and I'm trying. I know there's someone important that I'm forgetting about in this film. But I just love everything that they did in this movie. I also agree that we were annoyed by this in the beginning, but then after watching it, I think we were in agreement. I do think the choice of not showing young Michael was smart. Because then the movie become about who's playing Michael Jordan.
I think it was smart not to show him, but they just didn't do it very well. They kind of always like happen to be walking along this way. Just anyway.
Yeah, but I mean, and of course Matt Damon's big speech to him during the pitch meeting was one of the best dialogue written scenes of the year. And then using the archive footage of Jordan through his career and the trials and tribulations he had to go through, from his father's death to baseball to the gambling to all that kind of stuff. This movie was just so beautifully well done. And it's all about a fucking shoe. That's it. It's all about a fucking shoe. And also, special shout out for Matt Damon playing a character that truly understands. Running sucks. No one likes to run. And I love that every time they try to make Matt Damon run, he's like,
nope.
Fuck this. It's just I love it. I love it. I love it. What was your number 3?
My number 3. This is a movie that's been all over my list. It was several spots lower. I watched it again, and it went farther back up my list, all the way to number 3. For the moment, it's going to move a lot more. Indiana Jones and the Dial of Destiny. It could be somewhat tainted by nostalgia. Honestly, though, I watched this movie again. I appreciate it more. I enjoyed it more. Again, this is the last time I'm going to say it on this list, because the top 2 don't have this problem. This is a movie that has its flaws. There's not everything in this movie I like. I didn't like some of the choices of characters, didn't like some of the underuse of characters like Antonio Banderas. But it was still, if you just look at it for what it is and not compare it to the other movies, because it's definitely, like I said, it's better than Crystal Skull. It's not as good as the top 3, in my personal opinion. But if you look at its own movie, it's a fun adventure. Is he too old to be doing some of this stuff? Yeah. But you know, it is what it is, and I still enjoyed it. I think that James Mangold, one of the things that Sean was pitching me as the reason to have faith in this movie, I think that's one of the things that hurt this movie. Well, I wouldn't say hurt it. I will say the absence of Steven Spielberg is one of the things that holds this movie back. Not because of faults of James Mangold, just because he doesn't have that Spielberg touch that we're used to in these Indiana Jones movies. But you know, I still had a lot of fun. I think the action sequences are fun. On second viewing, my score went up. It's gonna move around the list some more. It probably won't even be. I don't know if I'm like top 10 at the end of the year. It probably won't be top 5 for sure. But for now, this is where it is at the time of this shooting.
Wow, based on our review last week, I would never have like predicted that this would be your number 3 of the year.
Neither would I. And even right now, as I think about it, like, does this belong at 3? Does it belong at 6? At 7? I don't know. Who knows?
All right. My number 3 is a movie that I mentioned earlier. It was my number 1 most surprising film of the year, and that is Guy Ritchie's The Covenant. This was a movie, like I said, I went into it just to watch Jake Gyllenhaal. I really was like, let's see what Jake Gyllenhaal does in this. Like, I wasn't expecting to like the movie. I really just wanted to see the performance of Jake Gyllenhaal. This movie is, in my opinion, the best Guy Ritchie movie because it's the least like Guy Ritchie. I have problems with the way Guy Ritchie shoots his films. I don't like his style. I don't like his choice of dialogue. I find it very messy. I find it like annoying. This movie does not do any of that, except for like maybe one, like almost like 2, maybe not even 2 minutes long of a scene. So he still has his hands in there, but it's at almost the most bare minimum time to the point where it's like, I was watching the movie as that one scene. I was like, and here's the Guy Ritchie scene. But I'm not going to get angry at a minute to 2 minutes of actual, screen time where it's just a little wonky. Jake Gyllenhaal is fantastic in this film, but the one person that deserves a lot of the recognition is Dar Salim, who plays Ahmed in the film. He's the actual what's the word? Interpreter. He's the interpreter.
Yeah.
Translator, interpreter. This story is done in such a way that you are just on the edge of your seat with everything that's going to happen, because from the plot, from the trailer, what's going to happen, and how you're going to get to this one point in the movie, because the whole point is about how Jake Gyllenhaal is going to get Ahmed out. But it's the journey there, because you have this journey between Gyllenhaal, who's John in this movie, John Kinley, and him and Ahmed don't get along at the start, and it's them overcoming this attack that basically takes pretty much everyone that they know, and then them trying to survive and escape into the mountains, and while they're being hunted. And then at one point, it's Ahmed's journey about how to try to keep them alive and keep them surviving, and it's the performances of these two throughout that point. And then we add an actor who I love in oh god, I'm blanking on his name all of a sudden, from The Boy, or Anthony Starr. Anthony Starr, he's got a small role, but I love him in this brief appearance. The action is brutal. I love the way it's shot. Visually, everything looks great. And this is a story of a man who basically owes his life to another person and is willing to give his life that he basically was saved by for the other dude in order to save that man as well. And I think the performance of Jake Gyllenhaal echoes this whole thing throughout the film. I thought Jake Gyllenhaal just continued to prove that he's such a phenomenal actor, and when he's given the opportunity to fully stretch his acting ability, he always excels. But he's not given it that much. There's certain movies that they give him that, like Nightcrawler, and even though the movie itself is not that great, Guilty on Netflix, he's phenomenal in that. It's the story that fails him, not his performance. And Gyllenhaal's performance in this movie is fantastic, but the real standout is Dar Salim as Ahmed. Didn't really know that actor, and I'm sure, granted, he's typecast probably in a lot of things. I probably have seen that guy many times before, but I never took notice of him before. I am now taking notice of him now. I loved everything about this movie. This movie completely took me by surprise. Anything you want to add about it, or
Nope.
okay? Your number 2.
My number 2, you mentioned a couple spots earlier, and that is John Wick Chapter 4. John Wick Chapter 4 is simply the best complete action epic since Mad Max Fury Road. Obviously very different kinds of action, but it's taken this series, which could have very easily been just a kind of cookie cutter assassin movie, and the mythology they built around this world of assassins and John Wick himself.
Yeah.
It's just a beautiful world they've built. But the thing is, this movie and this epic conclusion of this trilogy is not only do they amp up the action, which they do in so many ways. I mean, the movie is much longer than the other ones.
Way longer.
The action scenes are kind of blown up to be more epic and more elaborate and things like that. But just the movie as a whole, I think, just took everything to another level. Whether it be the sound of the movie, from the opening thumps of when you heard him punching that the board, to the music that goes from the dubstep to like a Mediterranean, to like a Japanese music, to like Motown songs. It's the music, and especially in the visuals of this movie. This movie, it won't. This movie should be nominated for Best Cinematography at the Academy Awards this year, because this movie is beautiful. I mean, and I'm not just talking about some of the more creative, like, trick shots, like the whole, like the video game section where it goes above and kind of watches him as he walks through the building and going up against everybody. But even just simple shots like watching Winston walk for 15 seconds down the hall of an art gallery. It's beautiful.
Oh, it's beautifully shot.
The way this whole movie is filmed is just beautiful cinematography. I went into this movie looking at it a little differently after the first viewing, because it's like you have to look at this as alternate reality, where everybody's wearing clothes that are bulletproof and they can block the shots, and everyone in the world is an assassin, or things like that. Essentially, it's not our true reality, and that really helped me just appreciate the movie more instead of trying to nitpick away at it, because there's things obviously in a real world would not happen this way. But I think that Keanu Reeves did a phenomenal job in this, most especially the action first and foremost. But like I said, the look of it, the sound of it, everything about it is just a complete action epic, and I loved it beginning to end.
Yeah, John Wick franchise for me is one where, and I know most people don't agree with this, but I don't care. It's what I feel. Each movie has gotten better than the last. I like John Wick 2 better than John Wick 1. I like John Wick 3 better than John Wick 2. And John Wick 4 is clearly better than the other ones. And I don't mean that in a negative way. It's just it knows how to take what worked in the previous film, build on that, expand it, and make it better. And like John Wick 1 was a very much of a revenge story. John Wick 2 was opening the door to this world that we didn't really know existed. We thought it was just very tight knit, to realize that, oh, this is bigger than what it is. To John Wick 3 becoming a holy shit, the whole world is like this. And then to 4, which is we now know the world we live in, but now we're hitting potentially the end game of it all. How is this going to end? Which now they're talking about potentially there being a John Wick 5. Yes, Keanu Reeves is fantastic in this role, and I love the journey he's went on from just being a mournful, grief-ridden husband who lost a dog, to embracing his dark side again, to running for his life, and then to him trying to take back ownership of his life in this journey through here. Donnie Yen once again proves that he's one of the most underappreciated martial arts fighting actors out there. His stuff is great. I agree. The cinematography is fantastic in this film. One of my favorite shots is when they're in is it Tokyo's Continental? Where
I don't know if it's Tokyo. It's in Japan.
Yeah. When he's hiding out in that one area, you have that red, like neonish, like tree. Like beautiful. It's such a beautiful shot. Bill Skarsgård is so great as the I'm gonna say it wrong. What is this character name? Well, he's Marquise. He's got like a whole long name that I would say wrong. I think he does a good job being this sleazy bad guy who wants to get the job done, but doesn't want to get his hands dirty. I think he does a good job of doing that by using Donnie Yen. Lance Reddick, the great late Lance Reddick. That moment in the movie hurt way more than it would have had he not just passed away. Which I guess almost actually helped the movie to a point in a kind of messed up kind of way. I also really liked the new edition of is it Shamir Anderson as
Mhm.
the tracker? I didn't know if Shamir was the right way to say it. I enjoyed him and his dog, and I love that we brought back the dog aspect of the John Wick franchise because that is literally the heart and soul. This whole thing is a dog. I also thought Hiroyuki Sanada. I mean, how can you not love that guy? You love that guy and everything. I love how he got a kick-ass moment. Amy Kwan, who plays was it Amy Kwan who played his daughter? Or no, it was Rina Sawayama who played his daughter. I thought she was really good because obviously the world's going to expand with them because we're going to get all spin-offs and all this shit for John Wick. The only thing that didn't work for me was the 20 minutes in the middle that they could have easily removed, which was when he goes to, I think it was Berlin.
The
And
fat
you have the
suit
whole,
Scott Atkins.
yes, the whole Scott Atkins club scene with him in a giant fat suit and then the dancers in the club. Everything about that.
The thing is that a fight scene in that club could look really cool, but to have there's no reason he had to be in a fat suit. You could have just had Scott Atkins be the guy. And then the dancers who just like are they're not even oblivious to it. They see what's going on. It's like, cool, there's people dying here. Keep dancing.
Yeah, it isn't until like near the actual end of the actual gunfighting that they actually start reacting the way they should. And it's like, no, they've been doing this for like fucking 5 to 7 minutes now. No, you don't just now all of a sudden start giving shit.
Yeah.
Like just people dying in front of you, being thrown off fucking like 2-story railings, and you're just like, yeah, like no, like what the fuck is going on? And it's also not even just a fat suit; it's a fat suit and the grills. It's just everything about that. It's just like, what the fuck are we doing here? And you could take that 20 minutes out of that movie, and that movie jumps up for me, in my opinion. But there's so many just great action set pieces. The stairs. That's all I gotta say. The stairs is such a well choreographed shot in that film. And I remember being in a sold out theater watching that. And when it comes to the point where he goes down the stairs, you just hear everyone go, no,
Right.
like, oh, just like everyone in the theater just like going, fuck, the whole way through it. John Wick Chapter 4 is amazing. It's amazing. There's not much more you can say about it. It's one of the most fun times I had in the theater this year. That brings me to my number 2, which you brought up already, which is Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3, my most anticipated film of the year back in January. This movie just hit me in all the right spots. The emotional weight, the way they played up Rocket's storyline, the way the movie even started with Rocket singing "Creep." I don't even like that song, but that song was the perfect needle drop for what was going on with Rocket through the story and how he still doesn't feel like he's out of place in the world. Um, Karen Gillan's Nebula keeps succeeding in every role she's in. She just gets better and better and better as every performance of Nebula moves on. The flashbacks to Rocket I thought were heartfelt, emotionally driven. They introduced just 3 new characters, and when they were taken from us, that blow worked incredibly well. The comedy still works well. Everyone gets moments to shine in this movie, and with it potentially being the farewell to a lot of these characters, I'm glad that no one really felt shortchanged in this movie. I love the little Easter eggs, like Nathan Fillion finally getting to be in the movie without being caked in makeup. I thought his scene was great. Um, the High Evolutionary, played by, I'm not gonna say his name because I'm gonna fuck it up, but Chukwudi
Woody
Awuji.
Uji.
Wow, I actually said that relatively close. I'm actually proud of myself. I thought he did his job, which was to be a menacing bad guy that you fucking hated. Why? Because he fucked with animals, and you don't fuck with animals. But he did a great job. They could have utilized him a little bit better, especially in the third act. Um, but this to me, I thought was a beautiful send off of these group of characters that were outcasts that shouldn't have worked in this movie landscape with the MCU from when the first time they showed up to now, the potentially the last we've seen most of these characters. This should not have worked, and yet it worked beautifully. I loved this movie. This movie made me emotional many times while watching it. I fucking love the Guardians of the Galaxy.
I love the Guardians. I love the characters. I love the group. I love their the way they play off each other, relationships. I liked this movie a lot. I did not love this movie. I think that the villain of the High Evolutionary was kind of eh. Then you add in the whole story with Rocket and the animals, which it's hard to watch, especially if you're an animal lover like I am. But I'm not going to call that a fault of the movie. But it did keep me from getting. I didn't enjoy the movie as much as I wanted to because, as Sean pointed out, I have a cold black heart and I don't like to feel emotions. Um, but I did like much of this movie. I liked more than I didn't like. I think there were a lot of wasted opportunities. Like I said, the main villain was just okay to me. Adam Warlock was completely pointless. I think it's just they felt like, well, we have to pay it off because we teased it earlier, and this is going to be the last one of this group at least. So we have to do something with it. What they did with it was a waste, both of the character and of Will Poulter. Um, I, I think there's a lot of this movie that is kind of just like, okay, come on, let's move on to the next scene. And once it got going, especially into the second half, I enjoyed it a lot more. It just was much more somber than I want in a Guardians of the Galaxy movie. I want Guardians of the Galaxy to be fun, and that's like this is like the one branch of the MCU that's like, hey, we're the fun movies, and it decided to get very serious, which again is not a fault. It's just not the tone that I was looking for in the movie. So while I liked it very much, and it was like my number 5 of the year so far, it just wasn't as high to be my number 2 like Sean was.
I'm assuming our number one's the same.
I don't think so. What's yours?
Really? If this movie's not in your top 10, then I don't know what the hell we're doing.
I don't think it is.
Spider-Man Across the Spider-Verse wasn't in top 10 of the year?
Oh no. Yeah, it was.
I was like, are you fucking with me right now? I was like,
I'm totally fucking with you.
I was like, if you have Fast X higher than Spider-Man Across the Spider-Verse, this is over.
I wasn't going to do that, but then the fact that you even could have believed that, I'm like, okay, if he wants to believe that, then let's play with him.
I was like, you dick. Yes, our number one movie of the year so far is clearly the best film of the year, obviously, which is Spider-Man Across the Spider-Verse. This movie excelled on everything that Into the Spider-Verse did. The character work, the visuals, how did you make the animation better than what it already was?
Apparently by working the animators to death, from what I hear.
Apparently, but you know what? You have one more movie to make, guys, and then you guys get a real long vacation.
Which, by the way, I was right. This movie ain't coming out on time.
Oh well, I'd rather have them take the extra time to make this thing hit.
Oh, I will agree with you. Yeah,
rush it out. Yeah, I love this story. I love how like with the first film, he was just really figuring out his powers. I think was it like a 2-year jump? They say it was like 2 years or
something
18
like
months
that,
or something like that, 16, 18 months or whatever. I love that Miles has grown as Spider-Man, but has also grown as just Miles. I thought the parents are utilized way better in this, especially Rio. I thought she is utilized so much better in this. I love those quiet moments with her and Miles. I thought those were some of the best acted scenes in the film. Of course, the comedy aspects were great. Haley Steinfeld basically becoming a supporting character to a co-lead in this. I love the opening prologue, or I guess we would call that a prologue because it was all past shit. The way they shot that, even though I know you said you didn't like the watercolor aesthetic of it, I love that her world looked, felt, and was shot differently than Miles's world. The fight sequences, that first fight sequence where they're fighting the vulture, I love that every style was great. I love how the colors and visuals is that you could have a character that's just regular CG animation right next to a color character that's animated, like comic book animation, and then another person that's like live action. It's got one of the best cameos of the year. Um, Unlike Fast X, this movie knew how to end on a cliffhanger the right way. Um, you go ahead and you go ahead and say some things because I don't want to take everything from you.
No, I mean, you've kind of covered everything. I mean, this movie is it's. I want to see part two to make sure they stick the landing. I have 100% faith that they will.
Yeah,
Because while I don't like movies that go to part one and part two, and I think this probably could have been made into one longer movie instead of two. I get it, part cash in, but partially just because they don't want to cut anything, and I don't blame them, because while there are things in this that could have been cut, it could have been edited a little more tightly. I loved everything I saw. The artistic style is the first thing that jumps out at you. Well, the multiple artistic styles and the
yeah.
way they kind of integrate with each other, I think is very well done. One of my favorite things about this was that they gave a lot more time to Spider Gwen, or Gwen Stacy and her story. She's, I think, my favorite part of this movie. Everything about her. But yeah, I mean, this is a movie that there's still half the year to go, and something could unseat it. But as of now, this is an easy number one pick for me.
It's going to be very, very hard for someone to come in and knock this off the top of the mountain because this movie was as close to near perfect as you can get for what it did.
Yeah, I mean, just in the next couple of weeks, we have some supposedly amazing heavy hitters coming with like Mission Impossible and Oppenheimer and some other ones. But
I feel like once those
it's going to
two
be a
come
tough
out,
fight. Yeah.
if those two aren't able to unseat it, we probably won't see a movie get close to unseating it till the end of the year.
Yeah.
Because that's how powerful this is. But if any of them are going to, it's going to be these two. If not, we got a long road of Spider-Man being number one, which I'm totally okay with it if it is. Also, shout out to Jason Schwartzman as Spot. That is a character that looked like a joke character, but you took a character that was a joke and you just made him an ultimate villain. I loved visually how they shot
Well, the
his.
fact that they even use that as the motivation is like, I'm not a joke. You treat me like a joke.
Yes, and that's kind of the thing too. It's like even with Miles, everyone's like, "Stop treating me like I'm a kid. Stop treating me like I'm not capable of doing this." And it's like, but yet he treats Spot that way. There's so much underlying story in this. I mean, Oscar Isaac as Spider-Man 2099. Also, I mean, I know Brian doesn't care about this, but a Spider T-Rex, fucking let's go. Give me a Spider T-Rex. Even that Spider Cat was great, but like, there's just so.
You know what I loved about that last act, with the by the time there's like hundreds of Spider-Man variations chasing after him, it's like it's completely chaotic, but it could have gone off the rails. It could have been done like look at all the cameos and the little hidden Easter eggs we can shove in here, but I think they did it well enough that you got the glimpses of all this stuff without overdoing it and just being like, okay, now you're trying
focus
too
was
much.
still on Miles.
Yeah, the focus was still on the character, still on the story, and yes, there were all the different things you could catch, all the Easter eggs, and I'm sure there's people that are going to go frame by frame and
Which once we have it on digital and stuff like that, I will.
Right, and there are people more knowledgeable with comics that will understand everything, whereas I will not understand most of what I'm seeing. But I think that they were wise in their use of it and not overuse of it, to take the focus off of what is important, and that being the actual progress of the story.
There's so much.
Yeah.
There's so much in this movie.
Yeah, and even the ones they featured this time, because I mean, last time we did. I mean, this time we don't get Spider-Man Noir. We see appearances by that in Penny Parker and these other ones, but this time to include Spider-Punk, who I really enjoyed. Dana Kaluuya, he was great in that role. Spider-Woman, of course. Yeah, it's a great bunch of them.
Also, Spider-Man India.
Yeah. Oh, he was actually one of my favorite parts of this movie.
Yeah, he was great.
I thought he would be something I really wouldn't like about it, and especially once you first heard his voice, we knew exactly who it was. We're like, okay, I'm on board with this guy.
He's
And I do have to
so
echo
good.
one other thing you said was the relationship with his parents, especially his mom.
Yeah.
That was a great scene.
Yeah, I love everything about this movie. It hits the right emotional weight, while still being funny, while still being action packed, while just looking just fucking gorgeous through this whole thing. And then even as it ends, the whole big twist for the cliffhanger, you're just
I
like,
love how that was done.
oh,
Yeah.
it's so good. It was so good. And then when it ends, you're like, you know it's ending. You know it's gonna end this way because you just like, okay, we know how long we've been in this theater. There's no way this movie's going longer to continue this. So this is how it's going to end. But when it did end, you're just like, oh, that was such a good way to end it. I cannot wait. Because with Fast X, it ends, and you're just like, well, that was just fucking dumb to end it that way. Whereas like with this one, you're like, that was a perfect way to end this. And I can't wait for this movie to come out some point next year because the chances of it coming out in March, not very high. But yeah, Spider-Man Across the Spider-Verse is clearly leaps and bounds ahead of the pack in both our views. Like I said, it's going to be hard for someone to topple it, but we got 2 movies coming out here in the next 2 weeks that will be very high contenders for it. But that's it. That's our half year in review. I love how I said this one was going to be shorter this year because we didn't have a whole top 10 worst, but somehow it went longer. But it is what it is. We hope you guys enjoyed this review or enjoyed this episode. If you guys did, go ahead and hit that like, share, and subscribe button to the channel so you guys stay up to date with all the latest videos pop up on the Movie Crusaders. Of course, when the follow us on all the social media, I'll just see below. Out right now, we have our non-spoiler and spoiler discussion for Indiana Jones and the Dial of Destiny, even though you kind of heard us talk about that already on here. Also, this past week's The Weekly Crusaders, where we talked about 2 movies that came out during that week in movie history, where we talked about The Patriot and wow, I'm blanking on yours. Oh yeah, Legend of Tarzan. We have this week's episode still to come out this week. Those are gonna be 2 movies that are gonna be real fun to talk about. Also, Cinemasochism. We watched Nick Fury, Agent of S.H.I.E.L.D. for Secret Invasion. So that was a film. Check about our thoughts on that. Also, I have a review for Joyride that'll be out sometime this weekend. Brian thought it was a very funny film, and had that movie came out a week earlier, we definitely would have been talking about that on this episode. But granted, it came out in July, so hopefully we'll be able to talk about it again at the end of the year. But yeah, that is our half year review. Here's hoping that the second half of 2023 gives us just as much good films, as well as giving us some bad movies so we can actually pad out our worst films of the year a little bit. But hopefully it's not the bad movies that we want to be good. That's the most important thing. We don't want like Oppenheimer to be in our worst of the year or Barbie or something like that. But we hope you guys enjoy this episode. We are the Movie Crusaders. I'm Sean Waskrug. That is Brian Michaels. And until next time, in case we don't see you, go watch some movies and go have some fun.
You're still here. It's over. Go home.